I got you on anything we want to get started tonight. Margaritas.
Yo, what's good, Jacob Romo?
It's your girl, D Breezy.
Bloody Marys, you name it, I got it.
Hey, we live, baby. Let's get this shit.
Yo, what it do? It's your boy Zigzag MB Riders. You know what it is, Mr. AZ side. BARTALK, you know what it is.
BARTALK TV in this bitch. Terrell Anthony signing out.
Yo, it's your main man, Richard Lee. I ain't me, City Boys West. BARTALK TV.
What's up, it's Platinum, baby. Look, I'm from New Orleans, but like I was out here in Phoenix at the My Bar Bridge. It's going down at the BARTALK, man. Look, y'all don't want to miss it, yo. It's Platinum, baby.
Yeah. What it do? You know, it's your boy DJ Jamarin. Representing BARTALK TV, yo. Tap in before you get left behind.
Let's get it.
You are now watching BARTALK TV.
What up, everybody? What's going on? This is Bo Phillips of BARTALK TV in the building.
D Breezy in the building.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We got a really special guest tonight. I'm very excited for our next guest coming up. Yo, Jacob Romo's in the house. Yeah, Jacob's coming back from his time off pretty soon, everybody. We're filming for Jacob tonight. He's in the building with us too, but we're just going to be running the show. Alrighty, everybody. So tonight's special guest, we got Angel Fraijo that's going to be coming on the show right about now. You guys go ahead, give it up for Angel Fraijo. Come on down.
Thank you. What's up, man?
Thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Man. What's up, D?
Hey, what's up?
All right, cool, man.
You want me to move this mic here a little bit?
Oh yeah, absolutely. However you want
there
to.
We go.
And then bartender says you can hear us too. Angel, would you like another drink, brother?
Yeah. I'll take another mix,
awesome,
man.
Cool. Yeah, we've had Angel here. Just we've been.
I don't know.
Is it a good adjustment?
Can y'all hear me?
Scoot it up, absolutely.
Just put it however you.
Perfect. You can scoot it up.
Well, you can.
Nah, it's good. It's fine.
If you want.
I think
Hey, right on your face.
I don't want it to be weird. I just met this mic. You know?
Right, yeah, you're like, buy me a drink first, Mike.
Yeah, right. Getting all close over here.
Awesome, guys. Yeah, if you guys got any questions while we're going down too, we're gonna have some questions over here also, just our standard BARTALK procedure. But Angel, go ahead and tell us something about yourself, man.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, happy to be here, man. I'm glad we finally got to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a long time coming.
It's been a couple of attempts already, and things happen, but
appreciate you.
No, man, I'm glad to be here. And first of all, I've known D for a while, and yeah, we've been friends for a minute.
I got you on the show, huh?
Yeah, it was pretty much.
I did.
She pretty much talked me into it,
and
I pulled him by the ear, guys. He didn't want to.
It's all right. It's awesome. I love doing these podcasts though. I love kind of doing this stuff because I had for a short while there, I was actually running for office, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was actually running for state legislator and learned a lot of things in that process, which are interesting, but probably unsurprising to a lot of people out there.
Right.
But the cool thing about these kind of podcasts though, because I kind of do the stuff on my YouTube channel as well.
Awesome.
Is that you get to meet a lot of interesting people and have a lot of interesting conversations.
Yeah.
So I actually had a guy on my podcast a couple weeks ago, and YouTube blocked the video.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we were talking about some controversial subjects, but this guy, you guys can look him up. His name is Leo Zagami.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And he actually grew up in the Vatican.
Wow.
From Rome, and he's part of an aristocratic family that's close to the papacy there, which is part of a group that I guess people would commonly refer to as the Illuminati.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was an incredibly intriguing conversation. I actually followed this guy's work for like 10 years.
Okay.
And then he fled Rome 3 years ago, came to the US. I found out he was going to be in Arizona, and I straight up reached out to him on social media like, hey, bro, I've been following your work for 10 years. I want to meet you in person. What's up? And he was totally cool. He's like, yeah, come on down. So that's
what's up.
Yeah, I got to meet him 3 years ago. We became friends ever since then, and we've interviewed each other a few times already. So
that's awesome, man. I love seeing, especially when it comes out to Tucson, the locals getting to work with each other a lot more. Support your locals, absolutely, guys.
100%.
Community oriented type of vibe that we give out here to Tucson too, and it's pretty well collected, I would say too. But yeah, definitely. Well, as far as your YouTube channel goes, what's the name of your YouTube channel? That way, all of our different viewers can subscribe to your channel.
Sure, I'm just rebranding it right now. So it is Gold Pill Patriot.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah,
So
gold pill.
it's not the red pill or the blue pill no more. It's
Nah.
the gold.
Well, the blue pill, you don't want it. Trust me.
Right,
And the red pill's not strong enough. Everyone's red pilled now. So you know, obviously, there has to be
The
that
woke
next level.
We gotta be different. We gotta stand out. We
Yeah.
gotta come more powerful, and you know.
I actually have a little bit of a story behind that.
Okay.
Hopefully
Tell us
soon.
about it.
Hopefully soon, I'm going to be interviewing the writer of The Matrix. I know some people that know him. They reached out to him on my behalf, and hopefully
The original person before the Wachowskis.
Yeah, the Wachowskis brothers bought the story from this guy.
I remember. Yeah,
Right.
He ended up suing him, correct?
Yeah. He did.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of an issue there, but
Yeah.
the original writer of it is someone that I've been trying to get on my YouTube podcast. So hopefully soon that'll happen.
Yeah. Wow.
But I'll tell you what, man, I came up with the idea because I was originally on my Instagram page. I went by Red Pill Patriot.
Okay.
And
I remember that.
yeah, it was a while back, right? OG status there, if anyone remembers me from there. But yeah, so I kind of started realizing there was so many people that were following me they just believe in these crazy conspiracy theories. And I love conspiracy theories, but my problem with the conspiracy theory community is that they're ready to push them before they verify them.
Right.
I'm cool about diving into subjects, and I'm cool about talking about stuff. You guys will hear me on my Instagram page. I get into all of this stuff, right? I mean, obviously, I'm like interviewing members of the Illuminati and stuff, so it's real shit to me, bro. But the thing with me is that I don't like when other people just hear something and repeat it like they know it's a fact.
Just regurgitating the information.
Sure.
Exactly,
And then they're like, "Oh, I'm red pilled and I'm awake and I know what's going." I'm like, "No, you're doing the exact same thing."
Generic new age woke community,
it's
right?
Woke. It's wokeness, man. Bro. Yeah, so it's woke. Doesn't matter your political party or leanings or whatever. There's just wokeness all over the place. It's tragic. So I try to get people to think a little more critically about stuff. You can dive deep. You can verify some information. Let's talk about the real stuff that's verified. And that's the more interesting conversation to me.
Yeah.
But I had so many people that were attacking me, thinking I was some kind of a government shill. I said, you know what? I don't even want to be part of the red pill community no more. There's got to be something more. I'm ready to go to that next level. So I came up with the gold pill. And I didn't realize that there's people already using this term out there, which is really awesome. And it's a little grab bag, a little mixed bag of people out there, but there's not like one solidified community out there yet.
Yeah.
I'm bringing the brand out, so we'll see what happens. But
we're patenting it right in here and right
here. Right. Yeah, you guys heard it first. But yeah, I mean, I realized that these people who were willing to attack me because I didn't go along, and they were buying into all this BS that they're being fed through all these channels. I said, it reminded me of that scene in The Matrix where that one twerp, that sign that he betrays everybody. Morpheus.
You're talking about Cyrus.
Yeah.
Cypher.
So he's inside the Matrix with one of the agents, right? And they're at that restaurant, and he cuts a piece of meat and he holds it up. He says, I know it's fake, but it tastes so good. And I realize there's people out there that they know that they're regurgitating stuff that they're not verified, that's fake. They'll betray their own people. They'll attack you for not thinking like them. You're not as woke as they are. Yep. And I said, you know what? That dude was red pilled. Everyone on that ship was red pilled, but that dude was red pilled, but it wasn't enough. But you look at Neo, he was red pilled too, but he took it farther. He took it to the next step. And for me, it's a matter of faith at this point because Neo couldn't believe what was happening. Right. He definitely didn't believe what Morpheus believed about him, but he acted as if it was so. And eventually he ended up becoming the one, right? So fulfilling, whether it was a self-fulfilled prophecy or whatever, that's up to you to decide. But point is there's something beyond the red pill.
Exactly.
I'm looking for it. I can't say I know for sure what it is. So I just came up with this name in the meantime.
Well, I'd say like in resemblance to already what you're saying with kind of just like this specific type of metaphor, right? In Matrix. So I know that movie very well. I studied that movie a lot. The Wachowskis and the person that wrote it before. That's how I knew kind of what you were talking about. So I guess in more of like just to compliment what you're saying, in that resemblance, it'd be the gold pill would be like the research that Neo ended up doing.
Yeah.
Because he ended up getting the keymaker involved and then got behind all those secret doors inside of the Matrix, etc. When he met up to the architect, and then the architect explained that there had been like 5 other predecessors of him too. Yes. That would be the gold pill moment for Neo, correct? Right?
Yeah, it's precisely. And, there's a lot of interesting parameters there with that story and a lot of symbology they use. Yeah. The name of the architect. that is actually paralleled with other secret societies and esotericism. So I know that if anyone studies anything about like Freemasonry, they do often refer to God as the architect of the universe, right? So in a way, it's almost as if that movie is parallel to a belief that a lot of us have already been kind of entertaining, which is that we live in a three-dimensional holographic matrix already. Yeah. So have you ever heard the term simulation theory?
Yep, absolutely. So that's super string theory, technically, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean,
it comes kind of,
it's I guess you could call it a faction of quantum science.
Exactly.
Quantum physics.
Yeah. It's kind of like I think like one of the original people we were talking about in the lobby before you came on the show is Philip K. Dick. He was kind of theorizing superstring theory back in the 70s when he was writing all his books, because he was always getting all these different, dreams and everything, et cetera, et cetera. If those of you who don't know, Philip K. Dick, he was the guy that wrote all the novels like Flow My Tears, The Policeman Said. I wrote that novel. Fucking brilliant work right there. Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. More familiar ones too. I'm just a huge Philip K. Dick fan, so I'm kind of going on more of the lesser known novels of his. But the movie adaptations that have been made out of more Philip K. Dick novels that are more well known is like Blade Runner, right? For example, and then also Scanner Darkly was another one. That was another one where that was a
trip. That movie was a trip.
Robert Downey Jr. was in that, and then also Keanu Reeves was in that. Winona Ryder back in the day. So those are like other Philip K. Dick. Now Philip K. Dick has written a lot of the different novel adaptations that have made into like really huge movies at the turn of the 21st century. Yeah, Minority Report was another Philip K. Dick movie. Yeah,
one of something that's crazy to me, bro, that I thought about. A lot of this stuff is things that people had dreamed about, or just it was part of their imagination. Yeah, and then later on ends up becoming in some way somewhat confirmed through science. Yeah, and I feel that it's maybe it's some kind of indication that our consciousness is either projecting reality, or like Nikola Tesla said, that all of us are somehow connected to something at the core of reality, that all inspiration is drawn from, and that we don't know what that core is or what it is. We just know it exists, and it's influencing us and putting messages inside of our imagination, and it's manifesting now. We think about, like your kids could be like, I had this dream and this. You ever heard like your kids say something crazy? Then the more you think about it, you're like, probably it might be real. Yeah.
This isn't so far-fetched, right? Yeah, absolutely.
It might not be so crazy after all.
That's funny that you say that. I'm another fan of Nikola Tesla as well. It's cool. We have a lot of different things in common, brother. So like one of my, the most famous probably Nikola Tesla quote that I abide by too in life is, if you want to understand the fabrics of the cosmos and the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and energy, frequency, 100%. And vibration. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. And I always bring that back to because even in the Bible it talks about God creating everything, like speaking it into existence. So it's talking about like spoken word. When you talk, all I'm doing is creating vibrations in the air. And when your eardrum vibrates at that same frequency, it translates what I'm saying to your brain. So the spoken word is a frequency. So everything in the universe is vibrating at a specific frequency, and I believe that is ultimately the revelation of the Word of God.
The earth is a ringing bell. That's another quote by Nikola Tesla.
Let's go, man. Yeah, he's a Tesla fan here. Yeah, so, you want to know something crazy, man? When I was a kid, I was a huge fan of Albert Einstein. Yeah, mainstream wise, he was the smartest man in the world. But when somebody once asked him while he was still alive, they said, how does it feel to be the smartest man alive? His response is, I don't know. You have to ask Nikola Tesla, he said.
Absolutely. No, the cool thing is they could all complement each other so well, man. Just with Einstein being one of the most credible physicists of all time. And just honestly, it's like a quote that I kind of came up with. It's not like, it's because people say all the time, and it's such like a cliche thing that's thrown around in society nowadays. Like, it's not about like what you know, it's who you know. Yeah, not necessarily. It's not like what you know, who you know, it's who you hear from. And that's my quote. So for example, I'll even bring this up now that you brought up Albert Einstein. Let's say you're about to like walk into a bank, right? And you're about to open the door, but you notice there's a homeless guy sitting right outside that front door, cross-legged. And you open the door, and as soon as you do, he like reaches his arm out and pulls on your tail. Like he's like, hey, I just wanted to let you know, imagination is more important than knowledge. Now, when you hear that from like a homeless dude, what's your first reaction going to be like? I want what he's smoking right there. Like, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. Like, what the hell is that? But a lot of people know that's actually a quote by Albert Einstein right there. Imagination is more important than knowledge. So when you hear it from one of the most credible physicists of all time, instead of a homeless guy, then you start thinking about it a little bit more. Like, okay.
Well,
that makes a lot more sense. So it's not who you know, it's who you hear it from.
Listen, man, you bring up an incredibly valid point with that, what you just said right now. Okay, the way you framed that, because I'll tell you right now. I'm somebody who listens intently to people. I'm just interested in people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't care if it's a kid talking to me or a drunk dude or a homeless guy or, you know, the most prestige. We in the Western society tend to tag a label of prestige on our scientists and on people who are a lot of money and stuff.
The most like revered in their studies.
Right. It's people with status, social status, right? Ultimately, but if you break away from that way of thinking, you really have an opportunity to draw inspiration from just about anything, anywhere, anytime.
Open-mindedness, yeah.
And that's why I've been incredibly interested in just about anyone I meet. Like I have conversations with people on the bus, and it doesn't matter who they are. Listen, man. I know celebrities. I know politicians. You know, I've met some people pretty high status. I treat them all exactly the same as I would the homeless guy on the bus who just said something incredibly insightful. Right. And I listen all the time to people around me. I was standing in line at Office Depot a couple weeks back. There was some girl there with her mom. And she said something like, I think that they invented movies to keep people scared from traveling or keep people from traveling, something like that, along the lines. Yeah. And I didn't, at first I just heard it and I was like, wait a minute, what did you do? I stopped her. I said, excuse me, could you say that again? So yeah, I think they invented movies to keep people scared from traveling or something like that. I was like, I thought about it. I was like, that's pretty insightful, you know. And the more I thought about it,
I've never heard that before either.
I thought that too.
It's kind of because they kind of show you the perception of the world they want you to have. I mean, we get so much of our perception of the world from screens, we don't realize it. We live in a matrix already, right? Yeah. But I'll tell you something, man. If you can open up your mind to allow yourself to be inspired from just about anything, you grow so much more from that. I once heard a monk say, the student learns from the master, but the master learns from everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. I like that.
So that you just when you said that about the homeless guy, it reminded me of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. I don't really think like that either. Like, I'm not going to like discredit him just because he's like a homeless guy that looks all raggedy sitting on the street. But I know the majority of people do, you know, especially when it's like, oh, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So like, oh, so now I got to have my way into this like high class, like whatever, like the elite class is, like make my way into it. Yeah.
It's a dangerous,
and it's more common than not is the problem.
Well,
it's more common than not to have that kind of mindset.
Oh, yeah, it's rare to have a mindset where status doesn't affect what you think of people.
I see that, you know, it's who you know, that saying. I see that more when it comes to like jobs or like, you know, like for example, like in this kind of environment,
entertainment and stuff.
I hear that a lot.
Well, I mean, let's be real. It's never hurts to be connected, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. Of course, it's, you know, what you said
for sure.
But like, it can definitely be that it's your, what you know. What did you say? What was I saying again?
It's not about what you know. It's not about who you know, but who you hear it from. Exactly. That's what really kind of like gives you along the lines of like a paradigm shift, right? Because a paradigm shift by definition is like you can see like the world through like a different lens now, right? So like that usually takes some type of like specific inspiration. It's usually like a conversation that you're having where all of a sudden you're having like this big like mind-blowing epiphany about it, and you're like, oh wow, like I can't go back to looking at the world the same after
sometimes it could be something more than that. Sometimes you can have something that your paradigm shifts so hard you feel like every bone in your body's been broken.
And sometimes it's just
an experiences like that
where there's no words spoken. It could be like you got in a car accident but came out with like a scratch on your body, and you're like, wow, there's my epiphany right there.
Miracles happen every day, bro.
Absolutely.
Do you want to tell us about a story? Because I see your face like I know there's some interesting
stories.
If you want to give an example.
Can I just give a quick shout out to Drea, the CEO Daniela, and they couldn't be here with us today, but
everybody that's
shout out to them.
Part of the BARTALK team. Absolutely, guys. Let's go. I'm actually going to get into a couple of questions too. Let's start off like, where are you from actually, by the way, brother?
Oh yeah, so I'm born and raised right here in Tucson, man. I've lived here most of my life. For a number of years, I lived in Phoenix and also in Texas, and I've traveled a little bit, but mostly been here in Tucson, man.
Awesome, cool. Yeah, it's glad to have the natives on the show, especially because it's like it's few and far between sometimes in Tucson. I've met a lot of natives, obviously too. I'm not a native. I've been out here for like 23 years now, but that's cool.
You're a native now.
I can consider myself.
I think once you've been here 7 years, it's hard to get back. It's hard to go anywhere else. You get sucked back in.
Because every 7 years, it's like all of our molecules change, right? We're technically like biologically
another level right now, bro. They're not ready. They're not ready yet.
And then so you grew up here in Tucson, and when did you become interested in kind of what you're really I guess just like drawn by in your life as your passion, your purpose, like politics, etc. What's your inspiration?
I've always been infinitely curious about things ever since I was as far back as I can remember. I've always been interested in knowing how things work. I've always been interested in influence and psychology. I mean, even before I knew what these terms meant,
Right.
I was trying to figure it out as a kid. And I think to some degree, we all kind of are, right? Like kids are infinitely curious. And I think at some point, the world kind of crushes that out of us, and we become very rigid and just follow society rules. I mean, that's a whole other conversation.
It's the whole instead of being a critical thinker, just an obedient worker. Right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, you go from thinking critically and being imaginative to kind of like, oh, well, this is we put a lot of trust, and this goes right back to what you were saying about status and the elites and stuff. So as a child, I think I've seen it happen to me and a lot of people that you kind of start questioning. Like, why even question things? Because these adults in our life, they are older than us. They know how the world works, and they're telling us how it is. Then you get older and start realizing that now everybody's just kind of making the shit up as they go along. Exactly. They think they know, and they're just trying to put their beliefs and perspectives on you. Even your parents, God bless them. I love my mom, but her and everyone else who was an adult when I was a kid, I realized as I got older, I was like, nobody knows what the hell's going on. Yeah, exactly. Nobody can agree on reality, and you just have to really trust your own individuality. Judgment. Yeah, you got to be your own person. So there was a point in my life where I felt like I was getting crushed out of that, but I never stopped thinking. I never stopped questioning. So now it's led me to this path now where it's just kind of been my driving force in everything that I do. Politics, science, entertainment, anything that I'm fully vested in and wanting to research, I just approach it with a childlike curiosity.
That's awesome, man. That's great. Well, speaking of that too, just your childlike curiosity. So like growing up and like graduating from those stages of adolescence, though, let's go back to something that you originally stated on the show when you ran for office. So tell us about that. Why did not only did you run for office, but like how was that experience for you also out here in Tucson?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, first of all, I was running as a Republican in a deep Democrat district, which was probably a no-go from the get. It was destined to be a fail from the beginning, but it's not so much because of partisan. I wouldn't say voters are very partisan. I would say that the politicians are more partisan than voters, because ultimately I still get along with all my Democrat friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
But most of them. I mean, a couple people, they flip out or they block you. My cousin blocked me on Instagram. Stop talking to me. Yeah, because I'm pro-life and they're pro-choice. So it's there's some deep-seated division and stuff. But for the most part, I felt that wasn't the biggest problem, actually. The biggest problem to me when I was trying to run, and it's partially my fault because I jumped in late in the race. So you got to be able to have time to get signatures. It costs money and time. You got to have support. You got to go to. So I was going to events and I was doing speeches and I had some support, but it just wasn't enough in this district, and I didn't have enough time to get the help I needed. If I had money, I could have hired someone to get signatures for me. It would have been fine. So it is kind of unfortunately a game that you got to.
Again?
Yeah.
Well, when you do, hit me up. I'll get signatures.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. We'll do some campaigns for you on the show.
Can I just give a shout out real quick?
Sure. Yeah.
Listen, I got you any day, but I'll tell you right now. Listen, there is a guy still running in this district, this congressional district, running as a Republican. His name is Luis Pozzolo. Yeah. And Luis is an incredible man. I'm gonna tell you right now. He came here from Uruguay. His father was actually the president of Uruguay. Oh. He still has a lot of scars from his childhood. He hates career politicians. He resented his father for doing that line of work. Oh, wow. But after living here in America for 20 years and working his way up the corporate ladder, becoming a Microsoft data analyst, and eventually owning a bunch of companies and being a very successful, rich entrepreneur. Yeah. He has no desire to be a career politician, but he sees what's happening to the community. He sees how bad the situation is at the border. Mm-hmm. He sees crime, homelessness is rising, opportunities disappearing. And he said he has to do something because no one else is willing to step up. Yeah. He's not a partisan person. He told me 6 months ago, if he could go back in time 6 months ago and register independent, not run as a Republican, he would. But it's a two-party game.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but his ideals are, this guy is just amazing. If you guys get a chance to check him out, he's on Instagram.
Luis Pozzolo, shout outs,
and
absolutely.
Luis for Congress. He was, so if I had gotten enough signatures to get on the ballot, I would have been the state legislator if I had won the election for this legislative district. But that legislative district would have been a smaller district inside the larger congressional district that he's running for.
Okay.
So he would have been representing the state of Arizona in National Congress, and I would have been representing the state of Arizona and writing laws and legislation for the state itself. So we would have been definitely working together. So I did get a chance to know him. I'm helping him on his campaign. And yeah, the dude's incredible. You guys got to check him out.
Yeah, that's awesome. Beautiful.
That's how we make a difference, y'all. That's, by supporting
well, just getting
the right
involved.
people.
A lot of people don't know, especially people that aren't registered voters. They're just like, oh, well, like, the electoral college is going to decide for us anyway. I'm like, but that's a good thing. People that don't know much about politics will think about that, right? But I'm like, no, like if the electoral college actually didn't like make more of the like deciding rights too, it'd be like, what states would actually like have the most like voting power then? It'd be the states, it'd be like majority rules at that point, right? So like, for example, if there was no electoral college, it'd be Texas and California
and
so
New York making all the decisions.
Exactly.
And and I'll tell you, saying the electoral college is good or bad is just a subjective statement.
Exactly.
But what I will say,
objective concrete evidence behind it.
What I will say this though is for people who don't know how it works, the way you just described it is perfect. That we don't have a rule of the mob as the forefathers refer to it. Majoritarianism, and it's just another form of tyranny. Only instead of having one tyrant, king, or dictator, you have like a bunch of them. Have you ever seen that movie The Patriot with Mel Gibson?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, there was a scene where they're trying to convince him to get involved in the revolution. He wouldn't do it. And they're like, well, this guy is a tyrant. King George is a tyrant. He says, why would I exchange one tyrant 3,000 miles away for 1,000 tyrants here at home?
Yeah.
And that hit me like a ton of bricks, bro, when I thought about how corrupt our government is, how we have so many sold out congressmen and senators and all that.
Think about this, man.
I mean, look, even the current administration, with Biden, no matter what you think of him as a person, which is a lot to be said there that I'm not going to say, but I mean, you're talking about the connections that he has specifically right now in the Ukraine. Like, he was the one who his son was playing politics under his daddy's name. Like, nobody has to act like it didn't happen. He did not get it. They didn't put a crackhead on the board of Burisma because he was, his intellectual prowess. Like, it was, they wanted connections with his dad. So you talk about, the amount of corruption that is from the top to the bottom, all the way from the president, all the way down to this legislative district that I was running in right now, where one of my good friends and business partners, I'm not going to put his information out there right now, but he ran in this district as well, and he got sued by the Democrats. He's not even a Republican, not even a Republican. He's nonpartisan, and he got sued by the Democrats to have the Republican signatures removed from his ballot, from his petition. Now, technically, the rules say he either could have independents, Republicans, and Democrats sign, or just one or the other,
just one party,
just independent, or just libertarian, or just whatever. But why did they just go after the Republican? They could have said the Republican and Democrat. They didn't. They said just Republican. Well, it turns out if someone looked at his petitions, went through them, and counted all the signatures, if they got rid of just Republicans, he would have been 4 signatures short of being on the ballot. So somebody knew that, somebody did it, and a judge made that call.
Somebody was able to calculate.
Right. But I'll tell you right now, on the opposite side of that spectrum, my boy Luis, who I was just talking about, he was running on the Republican ticket, and he got primaried. First, he got all his signatures in days before the deadline. He had to go and submit them at the Secretary of State's office. He did that, and within days, all of a sudden, there was another Republican candidate out of nowhere. So he wouldn't have ran a primary race if he won, he got on the ballot, and it was going to be him against Raul Grijalva, the Democrat contender, right?
Gotcha, yeah.
So he would have ran against him, and there would have been a general election in November. But what happened was he got primaried in a couple of days from the time he submitted all his signatures to the deadline. This woman came in out of nowhere, and all of a sudden she had over 2,600 signatures and $3.5 million in donations. How the hell does that happen? Well, I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to tell you something right now that we're going to put this out here right now, that these people are going to hear, that you guys got exclusive
information, guys.
This woman, we asked for a sample of her signatures. Luis brought me 3 petitions. All 3 of them, bro, were fake.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
I'm not talking about one signature, two signatures, one or two pages. 100% of them were all in the same handwriting.
Yeah.
So you look at the back, somebody is supposed to sign the back saying, I'm the person who's a voter registered in this county who collected these signatures, and they sign it. There was 3 names on the back of them, bro. There was her name and there was 2 others. The first dude, we looked into him. He had a stroke 2 years ago. He's living in a nursing home. The second guy is dead 10 years ago.
Could have no way they could have,
No,
like,
so
they're
a
registered
de-
voters, but there's
So
no
a
way they
dead,
could
so a
have.
dead guy and a dude who can't talk right now collected all these signatures for her.
Right.
That's bullshit.
Somehow, like, was part of a ballot
Now
too, right?
it gets even better, bro. Where did the money come from? Now all the signatures were fake. Okay, but where did the money come from? $3.5 million donations. I'm talking about in 5 days.
Yeah.
So people don't know this, but you can go and look up on the Federal Exchange Commission site the transactions for campaign donations. So you can see who she's donated to. You can see who I've donated to. You can see who's donated to her. You can see who's donated to me or any other candidate. And if you take a look at it, bro, she's received the maximum legal amount donation from tons of people.
Maxed out, like,
maxed out on
that's
tons of
crazy.
them. And then you look at the names and it's like Jeffrey Epstein's ghost.
Oh man.
U.S. Congressman Seymour Butts. I'm not making this up. I have the in my pocket right now on my phone. I have the documents. I can show you.
PDF
Anyone can log in and see it. Though this is money laundering.
Yeah.
Now, what's worse though is that they took her to court. They took her to court. The judge looks at all this information, and guess what he said?
He was like,
So it looks like you got a primary to fight, boy.
Right.
That's what they told my friend. They're like, yep, everything looks legit. She's running. She's in the race. You got to win the primary. And if you want to be the contender.
It's a lot of power to overthrow,
So-
basically, is what the judge said without saying it.
Now, what I'm talking about is this is on a local
Bullshit
level.
is.
You guys can imagine how corrupt Washington, D.C. is.
Yeah, when you get
And
to like this, like
Right.
state and federal.
so when you
levels.
got people right now talking about there was no fraud in the last election, bullshit. I'm sorry. I don't care who you are. I wasn't born yesterday. It's
Yeah.
everywhere. It's in our school boards. It's in our county supervisors, our city council,
Even
and the
police.
and the police departments.
I mean-
all of it.
I mean,
The
even
state-
regular people do. You
Come
know what I
on,
mean?
you stolen something
We're
when
all
no one's
criminals.
looking.
We're
Yeah,
all a bunch of criminals.
I mean,
whether we
if you
want to
think
admit it or not.
100%, you can get away with it. It's tempting. It's at least you're at least tempted. I mean, I know that now as the person that I am now, I don't want to do that. I drove around for 4 days trying to hunt a dude down and give his wallet back to him because it had cash in it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I do that. But when I was a kid, yeah, if I thought I could get away with it, yeah, bro, I did some
It's a
foul stuff.
whole different story.
Yeah, these people in office, they're no different. They're human beings like the rest of us.
And bartenders, if you can hear us out there, if we can get we need another round of drinks for this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I need a blunt.
Right. Need a
Too bad
lot,
I can't
yeah.
smoke any, though. No
Light it
drugs.
up. Oh,
Jake, our boss said no drugs, but hey, weed isn't a drug, right?
Weed is
It's
not
a
a
plant.
drug.
It's a
It's a
plant.
plant. It's a herb. It's a herb.
yeah, I'm all for it. Legalize full decriminalization, deregulation.
I'm gonna go down to just one more question.
Yeah, go
here,
ahead, man.
too.
Anything you
So,
want.
was your family supportive of your decisions of going into politics or anything?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I'll be honest with you, man. My family have all mostly the ones who do vote
Mm-hmm.
have all mostly voted Democrat their whole life.
Yeah.
I never voted. When I went to run and I was registered as a Republican, and I explained why, by this time, most of my family had already been kind of softened up by hello. But most of them had already been kind of softened up because of, honestly, because of Donald Trump. And my mom, because I was really
2 beers and then
okay,
another
Michelada.
Michelada.
yeah, or just regular beer, fine too. Thank you.
That's a bartender, y'all.
That was
That's
my
dope.
fiance Moki Hana. She's our chief operations officer actually for BARTALK TV.
Yeah, I like having a bartender come into the studio.
Right.
Bar talk.
I feel like I'm on Joe Rogan Experience, bro.
Right.
Maybe we should do some DMT, bro, and get deeply.
I know, right? Yeah. Let's do some dimethyltryptamine
Yeah,
and everybody
you know
and
what?
start
I would
tripping.
like to do that, but let's not talk about politics because that's a big can of worms.
That's
We're
a
gonna-
hot. Well,
we're
yeah,
gonna
we
be
can't.
alive for like
I'll be
10
honest.
hours.
If I took some DMT, I could only imagine the shit, the conversation. There's something. Listen, I just said a whole lot a minute ago. For
you
for
did.
those who are just tuning in and missed it, I opened up a can of worms. I don't know what'll happen if
We're gonna
if
get
I
suicided now.
yeah. Hey, like I did not kill myself. Hashtag gold pill didn't kill himself. But
He did not have sexual relations with that woman either. Yeah, if they start
that's
accusing
good. Yeah,
him,
if they're gonna do something. They can do
there's gonna be
something.
some kind of like
Dude,
agenda
for
for
real.
discreditment over. Yeah,
Sure, and it's true. No,
And
this
it
is a very
happens,
common
man.
tactic, man. It's a
Yeah.
dirty game, and they want to try to discredit you, you know. But I'll tell you right now, man. There's things that beyond that I know that honestly I can't talk about. Yeah, so it's a real
I feel you,
thing.
brother, yeah.
But as far as like my family goes, no, they were all very supportive. Even
That's
my family, my aunt, who is a hardcore Democrat, lifelong. I mean, she's independent, but she votes Democrat only.
Yeah.
And she hated Trump. She believed some theory about him being like a Russian mafia member or some shit.
Right.
And she like nuts. So she was one of those people that like nuts about it, like Rachel Maddow nuts about it.
Right.
But even she knows like I am very focused and I don't make decisions just on the fly. Thank you so much. And so you know, she knows that I was thoughtful about it. She absolutely supported me. And
We'll get you a Michelin on your next trigger.
that's fine. I just don't want to make her work too much. You know
I
what I'm
think
saying?
I don't think she knows how to make it. It's okay.
It's
though.
okay.
I'll make
Bring me the stuff. I'll make it right here real quick. You guys
Right?
talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Don't worry about it. I'll drink a beer. I already had a couple micheladas, so
Cheers,
thank you.
I'm just
Absolutely.
moving myself.
Glad to have you on here, man.
Yeah, no, it's awesome to be here.
Well, that's good to hear, man. You know, I know that's kind of like the end of all questions, I think, too, with just family being supportive. It'll either make or
Sure.
break like the next amount of how much different effort or energy you're going to be putting towards your dreams.
Well, you know,
right? It's like-
my family is very close. We all have, I mean, trust me, we fight. We've had some incredibly rough times. I deal with a lot of stuff in my family. A lot of my family is very rigid, very stubborn. We fight with each other, but at the end of the day, like, you don't turn your back on family.
Well, that's what family does, you know. That's
100%.
true,
Yeah, you got at the end of the day, you got to have some hill you're willing to die on. And for us, it was like, I'll hate you to the point where I wish death upon you, but no one else had better do that, or I'm going to kick their ass.
Right, yeah.
Like, I got your
Exactly.
Fuck them
back.
up real quick.
Yeah.
If everyone's going to be killed, my brother, it's going to be
It's
me.
gonna be me.
We're gonna be
Yeah.
on the next episode of 48 Hours.
Right? Yeah, like we
No face, no
we
case.
can get at each
Get
other's
ripped out your face.
throats, but at the end of the day, like, it's still family, bro.
But yeah, just the next question too, Angel. So your family being supportive, and then kind of, I guess, like, what's your process though too for, like, you know, getting into politics too? Do you speak at all? Also, do you do like
Sure.
public speaking, or do you just like strictly like do like campaigns with other different people that are running currently too? With you already said like the congressional legislative thing with your buddy Luis.
Both are important. Both are important. So if anyone's interested in running for politics, running for office, I'll tell you right now, one, do an intense amount of research. It's not that hard to get registered with the Secretary of State. It's not that hard to figure out the process. And there's other people who have ran before. Find other people that have ran before, because most people running, you're not going to win your first round.
Yeah.
Right. Your first time around, but you learn enough that you know how to run a campaign better the second time around. So most people will take 2 or 3 times before they get in office. So when you're running, it's important to link up with other people that are campaigning, especially if you have aligned values. So if you guys have a set of values that you're aligned on, even if it's not 100%, it's enough for you to be able to reach out.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. I'll take water now that you mention it. Thank you.
So essentially, you know, when you find other people whose values align with yours and they've ran before, there's so many people out there that are willing to help you out and explain stuff to you. And they want to create that. It's almost like if you're friends with somebody and you guys both realize you're getting accepted into the same college, right? Oh, cool. Because then you get there, you have someone you can team up with when you don't know anybody else, and you can figure things out together. Going into like the state legislator or any legislative body, Congress, or going into the House or the Senate, either the House or the Senate or an assembly position, doesn't matter what it is. You want to make sure you can rely on other people who have a common goal as you. And I saw that a lot. I made in just a short, I only ran for maybe, my campaign was only like 2 months before I realized I wasn't going to make the deadline with the signatures. There's no way I was going to get on the ballot. And at that point, I could have ran as a write-in candidate, but I had to learn some things that made me realize that I probably wanted to go a different direction for now. if I run again, I might run again. I know better now, but I also have a lot more connections, and I've met people who are willing to help. So there's people out there willing to help. If you guys want to run, I would suggest to take just a lot of time to research the people that are already in your district. And if your values align with theirs, you can reach out to them. I got you.
Thank you, Mama.
And, if you guys' values align with theirs, you can reach out to them and you can find out what the process is and take some friendly advice. Don't be afraid to take some friendly advice and take some constructive criticism and adjust along the way.
Yeah, you really do. And not to be offended by disagreement, because a lot of people, you know, I've noticed that too. It's like almost like disagreement is offensive. It's like how is that like unless like I'm so egotistical to the point where like I have this like, you know, like superiority complex, or just like what I've also like delegated to describing it as too is like an unhealthy egoism, right? Like,
yes.
Unless you agree with me, like you're wrong. Like,
well, I mean,
how the hell is that even like a thing?
Well, I mean, that's kind of, you just described my process. I'm kind of like that, but at the end of the day, you got to realize we disagree. That doesn't make us enemies. Exactly, that's a different thing. Yeah. I can sit here and tell you you're wrong all day. We can have so many arguments about whatever. It's just like they said with my family. We'll be at each other's throats. We can be so far opposite apart, but at the end of the day, does that really make you an enemy of somebody? I don't feel that it does.
I guess it just depends on like the subject matter and the topic of conversation, right? Because you could be like debating like cold hard facts that's like concrete, like evidence, right? And it's
some people don't respond to that.
And exactly, yeah. Most people are like, no, I'd rather have like my subjective, like tangible, like things that I would rather focus on. That's more like emotionally equipped for me to feel like comfortable with accepting this information versus like what the reality is. Like
a lot of people go.
For example, I describe it as like sometimes like. If you're in denial of it, well, I guess like what would be like the words to describe that too? Like I guess for say,
let me
that'd be like cognitive dissonance.
That's the word, yeah, cognitive dissonance. But here's the other side of that. So what you have is you have people that are either predominantly left brain or predominantly right brain. What that means is the two different hemispheres of your brain, they act completely different. So if you're someone who's left brain dominant, you're going to be very much so leaning towards wanting facts, data, statistics, things of that nature appeal to you and help you make logic of your reasoning.
Right.
But people who are right brain dominant are more creative, intuitive, emotional. So they want more subjectivity and they can think in ways. Now, the mark of the artist over here. Yeah, artists are all pretty much right brain dominant. But the key to that to understand is that in your body, the left brain controls the right side of the body, and the right side of the brain controls the left side of the body. So if you look at the country and you look at the political spectrum as a body, right? The left side, they're right brain dominant. Yeah, they're ruled by emotions. The liberals, it's all about feeling good. Do what makes you feel good. Don't judge me for doing what makes me feel good. And then people who are it's life. No, I'm just kidding. So you got the people on the right, conservatives, who more like, straight up facts over feelings, and we're owning the libs with facts and all this stuff, and it becomes very much a egotistical battle between the two sides. But you're never, if you're conservative, you're more left brain dominant, you're not going to win over someone from the other side with cold hard facts. Right. I don't care how straight you got your facts. I don't care how right you are. And if you're on the left, you're not going to get somebody on the right to join in with you just because you want them to feel the same way as you. They just don't feel the same way as you.
But like, what if we all felt like the same way?
If ifs and buts for candies and nuts.
How much better would the world be if we just all had the same feelings?
If ifs and buts for candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. Right. Yeah, like that's the thing. Like, could you look at what's happening right now with the spectrum of gender fluidness, right?
Oh my god!
So it's like if I'm a man, I could feel like I'm a woman, but now it's not just my feeling. Now you have to refer to me by my pronoun. Exactly. Now that's something completely different. I'm a woman,
but call me sir. Okay.
Well, that's the thing too, man. There's some like pretty credible like clinical psychologists too, like Jordan Peterson. I study a lot of his work. You know, he's a clinical psychologist in Toronto for a very long time. I've read both of his books. Like,
I gotta bring my boy up, bro. Why you gotta bring up Jordan Peterson? But you can't do that, bro. Well, I love Jordan Peterson. One thing that he did say, just while we're on the topic of discussion about like identity politics, like it's a very dangerous game, and he was very correct. I think with his like
analysis and breakdown. Basically, like how I described how he broke it down, you dissect before you digest the information.
Correct.
You don't eat things before you know what's in it, correct? And that's the same thing with information that you're receiving. But the way that he broke it down too, it's like, it's no different from like in some of the books that he suggested, also in a lot of his different, you know, just like psychology, like studies and speeches that he's given to different universities, etc. on his tours. One thing that he did say though is like some book recommendations was like the Gulag Archipelago written by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Yeah. I've been in the process of reading that for a very long time. It's a pretty hard read, I'm not gonna lie, because it just talks so much about like, you know, the Soviet Union and what they were doing with the concentration camps and stuff.
Yeah.
And like they were based off of like identity politics.
Yes.
It was in like its own different like fascist way of like delegating that, but it's still like pretty like exact and replicating the same thing that you see in gender identity politics.
I'll tell you something right now.
Specifically, not gender identity politics, but identity politics as a whole.
As a whole, yeah. Here's the thing, right? That was going on right now in America. See, you got people telling us that diversity is our strength. I completely disagree.
Wait, what?
Yeah, you'll hear that term, diversity is our strength. First of all, the people who say that do not celebrate diversity.
Right.
They do not accept diverse opinions. Let's just get that straight right now.
I don't celebrate that I'm biracial. I'm not like, oh yeah, I have like a black, white, brown day because I'm Mexican, white, and black. I'm not like, yeah, it's national.
Hey, you go to every parade, bro. You're invited to every barbecue.
National Butt Day, y'all. Here comes Bo Phillips. Like, no one's gonna celebrate that.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is that when they start dissecting people into groups based on race or stuff like that, even class, it is such a futile process to go through because you're not going to appeal. Listen, I got a friend who's black and Muslim, and he will tell you just because you're Muslim doesn't mean you're my people, or just because you're black don't mean you're my people, right? Me and him have a lot more in common than I have with some of my, you know, Christian, Hispanic, white friends,
right.
And he has more in common with me than his other black Muslim friends because me and him have so many ideologies that we have that are aligned.
Right.
Our value system is aligned. Our world perspectives are aligned. But yet but if you were to just base it off of religion or race or sex or
gender,
right? Me and him would be almost totally opposite to someone who lives in a world of duality where everything's black and white.
Exactly.
But that's obviously not the case. That's my boy. I got so much in common with him that I don't have in common with other people who look like me.
Exactly. Yeah.
So.
No, and I can't like, honestly, I don't have any type of rebuttal or anything controversial to even say to even like, because I agree with everything you're saying. I wish I did have something like to disagree with, but I don't, like, because I've thought the same things. It's like when it comes to any type of like identity politics, it's the reason why I personally think it's such a dangerous game too, is you don't know like what's going to come up of it just because you like agree on like something that you can identify with but that has nothing to do with like your core values as a person when it comes to like your thoughts on like education or your thoughts on like things like moral like values either too. Like just because like, oh, I'm gender fluid with pansexual, et cetera, that has nothing to do with me like as a person to the core of my being. Like all that says is like I'm fluid and like expressing myself to like a very like I guess a comfortable and brave and courageous degree, which is like I can't like discredit that. Yeah, that's awesome. That's great that you want to do that too. But you can't like generalize that as a whole and be like that's the entirety of this person just because they're like gender. You know what I mean? It's like that's the thing. It's where they're listen, man. Like if you want to identify as a fucking floor lamp, I don't care. You can identify as whatever you want. But to me, that to me should be the least interesting thing about exactly.
you.
Yes.
Like I love having conversations with and like I tell you what, if you put me in a room with some, you know, raging liberal demi boy pansexual whatever, I don't even know what the hell that stuff means to me personally. But if you put me in a room with that person and we don't talk about that and we're more talking about like books that we like and movies that we like and experiences we've had and I can relate to this person, the thing that whatever they identify gender wise or call themselves their pronouns, there's such a at the like the lowest bottom of the fucking list of things.
Override who you are,
right? And what they're trying to do is they're trying to make that like the main focus. And you know, it's something I saw an interesting video not long ago. It was an old clip from an Arsenio Hall show. Remember Arsenio Hall?
Absolutely. Yeah, so, his talk show that he had back in the 90s.
Yeah, it was real popular. Arsenio, I loved Arsenio Hall. And so I saw this clip on, you guys can look it up on YouTube. So this was like around the time when you started.
Was it when he went out into the audience and like?
Yeah, there was a group of gay rights activists that were there.
They were heckling him, right? He went out to the audience.
They interrupted his show. And he was like, what's going on? What are you guys talking? And they walked up and they're like, why don't you have more gay people on your show? And I remember his response was, he said, well, how do you know? How do you know the people? He said, look, a few weeks ago, I had so-and-so on my show. You know, they're gay. But, you know, maybe that was like not the one thing that they came here to talk. Maybe there's so much interesting things about them they wanted to talk about. We didn't sit and talk about who, you know, them being gay. Like, why do you have to know that about them?
Right,
like, you're going to say because I don't bring them on here and exemplify that one thing about them that I'm not supporting them.
Right,
I don't care if they're gay. I support him. He's my friend. So why don't you just sit down? You know what I'm saying? Like, don't. But that idea of those people wanting to be disruptive, to act like it's virtue signaling.
Yeah,
It's virtue
very
signaling.
much so.
And back then when it happened, everyone just laughed at them. But you know what? Slowly and surely, that wokeism ideology is seeped into a lot of our fabric of our society. So now you have a lot of kids that, listen, man, they don't got hopes and dreams of the future. They're not building a business. There's no big war that we got to fight. There's something,
exactly.
But people
have to like shift their focus to somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. So, but people inherently, humans need to have the feeling of achievement, of overcoming something. There has to be battles. Yeah. We're designed for it. So when we have lived in such a comfortable,
necessary
luxurious setting for so long where nothing's going on, they got to create this battle in their minds. So what do? They become activists, right? They become and they pick an issue. And it's like, it could be anything. Like you got the gender thing, you got the LGBTQAI++ community, you got whatever, Black Lives Matter, racial disparities, whatever your battle is. Pro-life, pro-choice, right? So people get activated, become activists on these subjects because honestly, there ain't nothing else more going on in your life.
Exactly.
You got to find something. You got to go out and define your purpose. You got to go out and define your purpose. If you don't, somebody's going to come and define your purpose for you.
Yep.
And that's just, I don't think that's fun.
Yeah. Nowadays too, especially, like, I know that there's so many different things going on with our country, for example, and I can only like relate mostly to this country.
Hold on, I got a comment here. Mercedes said, "I'm Pan. Cheers to you."
Oh, cheers.
You know,
Mercedes,
I heard someone, the first time I heard it, I didn't know what it meant. I was not involved in any of this stuff. I was a corporate trainer for DirecTV, and there was this really hot chick in the class next to mine that my other friend was training. And I would go in there and we would go kind of like introduce, meet each other in classes. Like she saw me and she was like, kind of took a liking to me. So I remember, well, when you're I'll tell you right now, when you're like a trainer or something like like women, even men, like you're in a position of power, right, or authority, or whatever. Yeah, and then that too, they hear me talk and they get all into it. So I was
sexuals.
Hey, she knows the term for it. She's like, he must have a huge medulla oblongata.
He must have a huge brain under that skull.
For those that don't know, like if you're a sapiosexual, that just means like you're sexually attracted to intelligence.
Yes. Yeah, intellectuals. So I remember going out there and this girl was there and she was like kind of flirting with me, and out of nowhere she just offered the information. Out of nowhere she's like, well, this and that because I'm pansexual. And I'm looking at her and I'm just like, you fuck pans? What are you talking about? What are you? I'm like, that's cool, I guess. Like, whatever, I'm down.
Throw the pots and pans down the stairs to name your children. You fuck the pans and pots down the stairs.
I'm like, yo, in my mind, I'm like, this is new. Like, maybe I could get into this. I don't know.
There's like all kinds of shit going on. You're like pretty open to anything.
So
I don't play ping pong. I fuck the ping pong.
What is that on Beer Fest? It's like I was playing ping pong and ding ding.
Yeah. I'm a pot. Jacob's.
I'm a pot. Cheers to
eat a nug of weed.
Cheers to pansexuals.
It's all jokes.
It's all love. I don't care what anyone identifies
I have to take a leak real quick, you guys.
Go right ahead.
D, go ahead.
Oh, D's gonna take it from here. Let me interview D real quick.
No,
what's up, D? What's up, D?
Nah,
Tell me, where are you from?
Nobody's
Where'd you from?
Me.
What are you drinking there?
I'm gonna interview myself. Just kidding. But anyways, I do want to. I don't know if we asked you, like, what made you get into politics?
They did ask. Well, actually, no, they didn't ask that specific question. That's right. Okay. So the thing that really drove me to getting involved in politics, I've always paid attention in politics, but I never got involved and I never voted. And that was because I looked at politics as kind of like the world's biggest scam. And to this day, I still carry some of that notion with me. So I never wanted to get involved with politics other than I really felt that our country had gone far, far, far away from the original concept, which I thought was a really cool concept.
Like from our founding fathers?
Yeah. So, and this kind of goes back to what we were talking about a minute ago. We were talking about having the differences of agreement, and even though we disagree, we're not enemies.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you something. When I started researching history, and I actually got down to reading into the process of how the country was formed, it was not pretty. And I started reading the letters that our forefathers wrote to each other. And I'm going to tell you something right now. These guys never agreed on shit. They never agreed on anything. It was like there was childish as fuck, like with everybody.
I mean, they wore wigs back in the day.
George Washington had wood teeth. It was not an easy life, y'all. Like, no, but in all seriousness, these guys never agreed on anything. And there was constantly arguing and going back and forth. And and it reminds me of today's time. The difference is this. In today's time, we think disagreement makes us enemies of each other. Mm-hmm. Well, there's no way that we can fight for our own independence when it's intertwined with someone else that we view as a foreign, enemy. Yeah. An alien, right? So a pansexual demigod, a demi-boy alien. No. But ultimately I was realizing that there was only one commonality that all the forefathers had at the founding of this country. Even though they couldn't agree on policy and they couldn't agree on politics, they did agree that each and every one of them had some kind of a responsibility to be committed to their own independence. And they wanted to be independent from monarchies, independent from government, independent from the state, and wanted everybody to experience that same
freedom.
Yeah, basically they experimented with freedom.
Rights.
Sure. Think about states' rights, think about individuals' rights. They never envisioned a country where the U.S. government was a thing, that it was as big as it is now.
Like what it is now.
It's the way things are ran right now. This is exactly what they warned us about. So if you have a government big enough to give you what you want, you got a government big enough to take away everything you have. And we have a government right now. I'll tell you three things that didn't exist in a constitutional republic at the beginning of this country. Okay, police, military, a standing army, full-time standing army, and banks, central banks. So some of the things that when you start reading into, you realize that these were three things that they didn't want to see come into existence, because if the U.S. government had centralized these powers, the power to print currency and determine its value, then install these banks in the states, or the power to have a full-time standing army or military, or having police powers to enforce policies of the state on individuals that would violate their constitutional rights. If they, absolutely. And if these things existed, then they would all, the one thing that they all feared, the one thing that they had a commonality with, which was being committed to their own independence, would be immediately threatened. I'll give you an example. I read a letter that Thomas Jefferson wrote to James Madison when he was a statesman in Virginia. Now, for you guys who don't know, Thomas Jefferson was our third president. Now, George Washington was our first president, and he had once said that he thought we should have a government bank. So before, if you were in Virginia and you traveled to New York and you had banknotes from Virginia, when you got to New York, you had to exchange them the same way you got to exchange dollars to pesos when you go to Mexico.
Okay.
All right. So in order to clear this up, George Washington said, why don't we just make a central bank, a government bank, have US dollars? And Thomas Jefferson was like, you're fucking nuts. Don't even talk like that. So when they were talking about doing this, James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, and John Adams were like they call them the quartet. So they're like the four forefathers who were all constantly like bickering over stuff and really shaped what became of the country, the constitutional republic. So Thomas Jefferson didn't like what George Washington said. So he wrote this letter to James Madison. In the letter, he basically said, listen, if any man in Virginia does business with a bank installed in your state by a foreign power, and he used those words to describe the U.S. government, he said that person should be tried for treason and executed.
Okay.
Yeah, this guy was our third president, yo. This dude was the president of the United States at one point. So Thomas Jefferson viewed his job as president to be an oversight person, to oversee and supervise the government itself, that it didn't start going in the wrong direction and violating the rights of the states, violating individual rights, violating constitutional rights, or what I like to call human rights.
Yeah.
Because we get tied up on all this terminology. But the fact of the matter is that Thomas Jefferson viewed the power of the president to be someone who was just overseeing the government.
Yeah.
Not like in the last few elections, they thought Biden's going to come in and fix this, whatever. They thought Trump's going to come in and fix stuff. Even now, you got people like Trump's going to come back and fix all this. We're kind of been brainwashed in a way, programmed to believe the executive branch of government should have that much power, that they could either make or break our lives. You know, the fact of the matter is I feel the way our forefathers did back then, where we live in a different reality now. Don't get me wrong. In the 1700s, you probably lived to be 40, if 50, if you're lucky. Half your kids would survive birth.
Yeah.
So they lived and died in a 30-mile radius. There was no phones, no trains, no automobiles, no airplanes. They lived and died in a 30-mile radius. The thought of somebody ruling their life in their town and their marriage and their church, the way they worship, the way they ran their business from 1,000 miles away was fucking insane to them.
Yeah.
It was insane to them. But we don't feel the same way now, even though the world is connected the way it is. Look at how much people are so focused, like, oh, if this person becomes president, they're going to fix this. No, the executive branch and the U.S. government should have zero control or power over your life, not to fix anything, not to give you anything at all.
Absolutely.
And if we don't go back to that way of thinking, I honestly feel like we're heading to a place we don't want to go in this country.
I 100% agree with that. Like, honestly, I've always felt like us as a people, and, you know, when I say people, that's not, you know, gender specific, that's not race specific.
Everybody.
We are all, as a people, I think that if we really understood that in the beginning, it was set up where we were a powerful people.
Yeah.
And then eventually we started giving our power to people that, you know, they were supposed to represent us.
Sure.
Okay. And so with that being said, I feel like we really forgot how strong we are as people. If we were to band together,
we'd be unstoppable.
We'd be unstoppable. Right. Absolutely. And
Absolutely.
I think, I was listening what you were saying out there. Sorry, I was doing a bunch of things, running around, bartending and whatnot. But I was listening to you and I'm like, you know, the only thing I could think of was just how much I agreed with what you were saying. You know, that's topics that most people, they don't want to have those conversations. Those are the hard conversations that people don't want to talk about. They don't want to talk about the fact that we have allowed ourselves to be stripped of that power. We have given somebody else, one man, you know, and then his branch of people to really control everything. You know, when it comes to the money aspect, back then, money was backed by actual gold.
Well, gold was money.
Yes, gold was money.
Paper was the ghost of money. That's what Andrew Jackson said. Paper was the ghost of money.
And then it turned into, you know, this paper that honestly, if you guys read the dollar bill, I'm sorry, any bill, it says that it's a debt note. And in all honesty, it's like, that's exactly what it is. There is no backing behind it. There is no actual value behind it.
It's backed by debt.
Exactly.
It's backed by debt and the trust and faith in the U.S. government, which is quickly. Here's the thing with money is we don't actually have money. We have a representation.
Imagination.
Yeah, there you go. The beam up.
Honestly, and to be honest, we work our lives. We sell our souls for that shit.
Yep.
It's a form of control. So they call it currency, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, bartenders here. What do you want, guys?
I want a shot of Crown Apple, please.
Tell her to make me what I like. She knows. Yeah.
Oh, we got the new bartender.
Oh,
yeah.
I'll take whatever she likes too.
See, we ended up getting distracted right now.
what
As
are
soon
you
as they
getting?
brought the alcohol, we forgot what we were talking about.
It's not beer. It's
It's
a rainbow drink.
It's a
really
rainbow,
good.
yeah.
Rainbow drink. You know, I'll just taste some of hers.
All right.
Okay, so beer.
He had Dos Equis.
Because you're gonna get
Yes,
super
please.
lit if you mix.
Trust
I
me.
know,
Beer
but
with-
honestly, I really enjoyed like hearing the conversation, you know, from out there, because, you know, we do talk to a lot of different artists, a lot of business owners and stuff. And yes, they talk about their craft, they talk about, you know, what they're doing, but it's nice to have those real conversations and be like, look, I can level with you 100% and meet with you in the middle and say, you know what, I disagree with a lot of the things that are going on. And, you know, one voice might not seem super powerful, but guess what? When we band together, we are unstoppable.
Yeah. You know, this is why I wanted to bring him on the show, because I've seen the impact he had on people just on Facebook.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
this guy right here, okay? This guy right here. A lot of you know him, but the impact that he's had, and I've seen it. A lot of you guys have seen it too. Like it's real, and that's why I wanted to bring him on the show,
I
because
appreciate that.
I have one question for you that
Sure.
I really want to know. If there was one thing that you had the power to change, what would it be? Anything.
What you mean? You mean if I had the power to
If
change?
you had
what
the
would I
power
change?
to change it, whether
like
it
if
was,
I right now could make a wish and
Yes.
change one thing.
what would it be?
Ooh, that's a great question.
it's gonna be like a long wish.
I'll try to keep it as short as possible, because it's actually like a great question. And I'll be honest with you, I think the one thing I would change is I would wish that everybody had an easier time getting out of their own way.
Shit, can I?
Yeah,
Shit,
absolutely.
for real.
I'll be honest, that's the biggest thing, is that when you talk about like these battles of the ego, when you talk about lack of understanding or even lack of compassion or people being manipulated, the problem is that we can't get out of our way enough to be able to see things. I heard someone, the Buddha, once said this. He said, you cannot see things the way they are, because you can only see things the way you are.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
That is so true. That is real, honestly. And
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
this is a very profound
We're
and
like
beautiful
all
conversation.
mirrors. So like, wait, did I say that right?
Tell
So like we're all basically mirrors. Like, so when I look at you, I see myself.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
You know, my great grandmother was a practicing Mayan shaman, and the Mayans, when they would greet each other, they had a saying. They would say "En Lakesh," "En Lakesh."
Lakesh?
Yeah, when you meet someone, you say "En Lakesh." "En Lakesh" basically means I am another yourself.
Yeah.
So you're introducing yourself to yourself, and if you think about it, and this is going to go into a whole other realm of philosophy but yeah. So one thing that I like to kind of think about is if we really dissolve this concept of what ego is, and we think about what we are at our as the higher self, and comes from the concept of Buddhist philosophy and Eastern philosophy, really Taoism, Confucianism, which, I mean, there's a little difference between a lot of that, but the main point of these Eastern philosophies was to try to dissolve the ego. Now, they all had their own approach to it, and they all even had their own definition of what ego was.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the ultimate goal that they all wanted to obtain was to kind of dissolve the ego, basically get out of their own way. Because if you can only see things the way you are, what that necessarily means, though, is you kind of see things through a lens of an image you create of yourself.
Yeah.
Because look, your children look at you differently than than like a husband would, or your mother would, or a friend, or even an enemy. These are, I just mentioned 5 different versions of D.
Yeah.
But then you have your own version of yourself that you believe of yourself. Which one's the correct version of you? Who's the real you?
I think they would all be a little bit true.
Yeah, well, the answer to that is, yeah, they could all be kind of true, but all of them completely fail, and it actually describes them. Really well.
Because
none of them are true.
My enemy's gonna see all the bad things, and my kids are gonna see like, oh my God, my mom's my world. She's, so
ultimately,
I'm both of those things.
Hey, you're a great mom too. I know you are, and I'll tell you right now that ultimately the thing is that you have the ability to be anything you want, and you can't rely on imagery, because
honestly,
all you are is pure potentia,
and you can always better yourself, improve yourself. You
100%.
become self-aware. That's when you start being honest with yourself.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The way to dissolve the ego in a lot of these Eastern philosophies was through processes of meditation and physical labor. In a way, it was almost like, if you ever notice, Buddhist monks always take like menial labor jobs.
Yeah,
they work with their hands. They practice something called Zen work, because working with something like this in front of you keeps you focused in now.
Yeah.
And if you're focused in the now, you're living in the true heart of reality, because now is the only moment that ever exists.
Exactly.
But the concept of it was to kind of like live your life in meaningful, small actions that keep you grounded, so that you can develop yourself personally. It's personal self-development. And this is something that's key to just about anything. If you want to have more success in relationships, finances, you want to make a difference in the world, you want to be a better parent, you want to be a better child to your parents, you want to be whatever.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is that you kind of have to get yourself out of your own way, because you have to sacrifice the person you are now for the person that you know that you want to become, but realize that both of those are still just images.
Yeah, I truly believe that the ego really does paint a picture of ourselves to us, and we try to have that self-preservation. And when it comes to the self-reflection and really being real with ourselves, honestly, I'm gonna say this, you know, I've been to therapy, and I believe everybody needs a fucking therapist. It's the truth. And you know, through my therapy program, you know, I learned a lot about myself as an individual. Things that I you know, tried to say, hey, I'm not this person. Hey, you know, I'm a really good individual at heart. And it's like, you know, when you really look down to nitty gritty, we all have nasty ways about us.
We do.
Oh yeah.
And that really manifests when we're trying to hide it, and we're trying to pretend that we're something we're not. You know, it really comes out in the way that we conduct business.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's relationships, whether it's friendships, like it really manifests itself. And then, you know, our ego steps in and we're blaming the other person. Oh, this relationship didn't work because, you know, so-and-so was this way. And it's like, when you really look at it, you contributed to that. There was a part of you that wasn't right. Maybe, you know, a lot of times relationships fail because we're looking for love, but yet we ourselves can't love ourselves because we can't be real with ourselves. We can't be honest with ourselves. I think when you sit and you actually take the time to be like, you know what, I have done piece of shit things. You know, I have been a bad person. I have said bad things, and I've hurt people. When you can stop and reflect on that and be like, look, you know, everybody, I believe, is capable of change.
Sure.
Yes.
If you want it.
Well,
If you want it.
change is the only constant in the universe. But you know, you mentioned what you brought up right now about therapy is incredibly interesting, because I'm gonna tell you something right now. The closest thing we have to Zen Buddhism in the Western society is psychotherapy.
Amen.
And the fact of the matter is that they're both the same thing. It's just basically having someone, either you go to the yogi or the monk or the therapist, to try to get them to walk you through this process of trying to clarify. It's the clarification of what self means to you. What is this? What do you mean when you say I?
Yeah.
Well, you've got a problem with identity, and you're trying to work that problem out. And that's what therapy is for. And that's what these Zen Buddhist philosophies teach you too, is that you're trying to clarify self to self.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but it's necessary for you to work it out, because ultimately, when you realize these images are not real, even the one you have of yourself or of other people, it allows you, that's what the best way to try to learn how to step out of your own way, because now you can kind of put that to the side. Doesn't mean that you change overnight, or you don't, or you wake up feeling like some different person, or you lose your identity, or have some kind of, no, you don't have an identity crisis. You're just realizing that you kind of put a lot of restrictions on yourself based on an image you had of yourself that may or may not have been as accurate as you originally thought. And if you're okay with saying that, you can take that identity and just kind of put it on the shelf for a minute and start exploring new ideas and new dimensions of yourself to redefine what it means when you say I.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, a wonderful thing about that, there's a book. There's actually a book about this.
There's a lot of books he's been recommending. Y'all need to really read.
You
need to read this. Honestly, I think, you know, it enlightens people and opens their mind, especially if you're receptive. I mean, you have to be coachable. You have to be receptive. And change is a thing that you have to be willing to do. You know, there's a lot of people, they're like, oh, I want to change, you know, my eating habits or my life or whatever the situation is.
Well, how many psychologists it takes to change a light bulb?
No.
One. But it takes a really long time, and the light bulb has to want to change.
Oh, okay. See, like dad jokes. Dad jokes.
My daughter's 4, so I get a pass. I can do dad jokes all day.
You know, to be honest, Bo, he's equally as bad with that, you know. But I truly, like, this is an awesome, like, really refreshing conversation.
I appreciate that.
Truthfully, because
those are my favorite.
It's where you can be real and you can be honest, because, you know, I talk to a lot of people, but there's not a lot of people that you can have these type of conversations with, you know, because everybody's so okay with being blinded with everything that's going on. Why? Because ignorance is bliss. Okay. So when you have that mindset that, oh, I'm ignorant, I'm safe, it's like there's so much in life going on around you that you're missing.
I'll tell you right now, what you don't know can hurt you.
Oh, absolutely.
When they say what you don't know can't hurt you, I'm like, that is false. That's absolutely false. Trust me. But it's funny. I want to take it back real quick because I had another thought considering the ego. So you talking about methods of doing this, how to dissolve the ego, or how to identify the ego, or clarify the self. This is also something that's been like widely debated amongst different schools of Eastern philosophy. So I heard a story one time, supposedly, that Confucius, who's the father of Confucianism, had met Lao Tzu, who was the father of Taoism. Okay. Right. And I think I relate more to Taoism than anything else. You know, the Tao means the way. Yeah. So I remember hearing the story that when Confucius met Lao Tzu asked him, well, sir, what is your method? Like, what is your method for dissolving the ego? Or what is your method for reaching enlightenment? Okay. And Confucius said something along the lines of, oh, well, what did he say? Something along the lines of like destroy the ego or remove the ego. You remove the ego. And Lao Tzu said, oh, that's ridiculous. Confucius says, why? He said it's ridiculous. He said, well, searching for, trying to remove your ego is like beating a drum in search of a fugitive. Yeah. And I thought about what that meant. And I was like, wait a second. In reality, if the images we have of ourselves is not real, then technically you're trying to get rid of the ego, and the ego doesn't even exist. Yeah. The idea that you think the ego exists is just a defense mechanism you have, like you said, for self-preservation. Self-preservation. So when you start realizing that it was never even real in the first place, you're not struggling, fighting with it to get rid of it. And at that moment, you realize it's so easy to step out of your own way because you were never really in your way to begin with.
That actually reminds me of when I was growing up. You know, there was definitely a lot of, you know, adversity to work through. Yeah. You know, just being Hawaiian and having a father that was an immigrant, and, you know, broken home and different things. You know, my grandmother used to tell me, and I never understood it until I became an adult, but she used to tell me, she's like, you know, sweetheart, you really have to, in order to, you know, lose that ego, you have to really die to self. And I was like, you know, what do you mean by that? And when you die to self, you're basically facing that the ego is just a front that you put up. It's just that wall of protection because you don't want people to see you for who you are. And as I got older, I realized, you know what? I'm never going to be everybody's cup of tea. Okay. Exactly. And I'm okay with that. You know, the people that love me, the people that love me, the people that have respect for me.
Those are the ones that matter.
They're the ones that matter. But at the same time, I'm still going to be that woman that will boost another queen and say, you know what, your crown's a little crooked, let me fix that.
Well, yeah, so you know, that's what's awesome is people who see through your mask.
Oh, absolutely.
And they still accept you for who you are.
That's,
you know, my my mom goes to therapy. My mom's had a real rough life, right? Yeah. And my mom has been through a lot, and she's a person who it took her a long time to like accept that and finally go to therapy. Just to share like something a little personal, my baby brother was murdered like 13 years ago. Oh, wow. And that was her youngest child. And I saw the way it just completely destroyed her. And this is already after she had an incredibly rough life. Yeah. And my little brother also had a very rough life. It was not easy. But my mom, when she was going through therapy, she kind of got a little, like my mom still is not fully accepting to a lot of things, but my mom's always been real bubbly, always helpful. She laughs and jokes and all that. Always been that way. She's like the life of the party. Yeah. And when she was in therapy one time, one of the therapists told her, you know, you laugh and joke and are playful because this is a mask you wear that nobody can see that you're hurting.
Yes, absolutely.
Want people to see that. And it's incredibly insightful because you kind of wonder, like, what are things that you do that maybe you didn't necessarily pick up from anyone, but you did them to try to distract away from how you really felt or what you felt you were really going through because you don't want to address it. And there's people in your life that like the therapist to my mom can see through that mask, and they love you anyway. And I think those are like the most important people in your life. So I was blessed to have people like that in my life, in my family too, that when I tried putting up a front, they could see right through it.
Yeah.
And they didn't call me out for it. They didn't make me feel bad for it. They just accepted me for what they knew, how they knew I was. And when they saw that I was struggling too much with this ego or this image, my self-image or my self-esteem, they were just there to kind of tell me and remind me, like, here's what I really like about you.
Mm-hmm.
And would tell me something that was just totally just sincere and genuine about what they knew about me without the mask.
Yeah.
And it kind of started helping me to realize that, maybe I am putting up a front here.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't be seeing the world through this lens, because it's not who I really am.
Yeah. So would you
What's
feel?
Oh,
Oh,
is that
you're
what you were
looking
talking
good.
about?
Yeah.
This drink?
The rainbow.
This is rainbow.
Daniela,
Wow.
this
You wanna try
beautiful,
it?
this beautiful
I'll try a
queen
little
is
bit.
here.
I'll try it.
Hallelujah. Hi, babe.
Okay. Anybody need anything?
No, I'm good.
I'll do a little bit for now.
So I got to see she distracted me.
She's very distracting.
She's very distracting. Shit, I lost my train of thought. Like, damn, we were on a
What were we talking
roll.
about?
You stopped
Let's
the
go.
train,
Hey, no,
Daniela. Damn.
That's good. That's good. Distraction
Try my
there.
drink.
No. All right. I want to.
All right.
Okay. I'm gonna
Yes,
try this.
try it.
I don't know if you guys.
Let's
can see
cheers. It's beautiful. It's a rainbow.
I mean, that's
Daniela
like-
makes the best drinks.
I see
Cheers
that.
to a beautiful conversation. And I'm just gonna
Yeah,
do a
let's
shout
take a
out to
little-
your mama. Shout out to your mama. Like, much love.
Oh, damn, that's good.
Oh,
we
yeah.
we share
Yeah,
some
no, I'm gonna be. I drink a
some
ton
comparisons, and I
Huh?
feel for
Of those. I'm gonna drink
you.
a ton of those. If
No.
I should probably just stick to the beer. Yeah,
He's like,
I
oh,
think
someone
that's.
gonna drive me home. So
That's. Oh, I am getting a ride home.
yeah,
That's right.
see what's gonna happen is he's gonna
Yeah.
get tore up and he's
Well,
gonna spill
somebody-
his
somebody
life,
will
his
drive me home.
guts. It's
I don't
gonna
know.
happen.
What do you
Shit,
live?
now I want one of those. Oh, I just live right here up the street.
Really? I could give you a
I
ride.
live I live 10 minutes from here. Yeah,
See, we got it.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, shout out to my mom though. My mom was
That's what I
like,
said. You
For
know?
giving birth to a real one. Ah.
And
Found it.
in all honesty, like I do have to commend her. You're just the way that you view life is just so beautiful.
I appreciate that.
And I feel like not a lot of people are woke or have that
Real woke.
real woke,
Not
or
fake
have
woke.
or have
Not the
Shout
trend
out.
not the one where they just post freaking, insightful shit on Facebook, but you don't be living that life.
Yeah.
That's not what we
There's
talking
a lot
about.
of y'all like that on
You
Facebook.
know, don't be
We
that
know
type
you
of
in real life.
people. But
Keyboard activist.
yes, but shout out
Keyboard
to your
gangsters.
mom, like, virtual handshake. I think you raised a really
Virtual hug.
amazing individual despite what you went through. And those are the best stories, is to hear, somebody that went through a really rough life, but they were still able to make a huge impact in the people they raised.
My mom was one of the most influential people in my life, and for a long time that was a negative thing. But at some point, people got to realize that it's not who raised you or what you've been through. We were talking about a book earlier, the Gulag Archipelago.
Yeah.
Right. One of the things I really like about that book is the guy who wrote it had every excuse, every circumstance in his life that he could blame his circumstance, like how he ended up in a gulag.
Yeah.
I mean, he was under a corrupt, tyrannical government. They were enslaving their own people, killing their own people. He grew up dirt poor in Siberia. Like, when he got to this point where he was writing this book, there was like an underlying question that he was asking himself, like, what could I have done differently, or what did I do to get myself into this position? He was taking on a massive amount of responsibility for his circumstances when other people are just feeling like victims of circumstance.
Oh, absolutely.
And they want it's everyone else's fault that they're in the situation they're in.
True.
But the fact of the matter is I say, it's 100% your responsibility. People get upset sometimes when I say this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Listen, I don't care what happens to you. I mean, the most extreme cases, you have to realize 100% responsibility lies in your hands.
That's
and there's
true.
people that go, what about people that, someone robs you, someone rapes you, some of this? I'm like, listen, if responsibility to me, if you break that word down, it's your ability to respond to a situation.
Absolutely.
So the fault may not lie on you. Fault can be here, fault can be there, it could be their fault, it could be the government's fault, but responsibility
Is on you.
100% yours. So
Yes,
when you get
I
into
agree with that. Hell yeah.
I love that.
when you get into a mindset or a victim mentality, and you want other people to take responsibility. Oh, the government did this, they should fix it. I don't think so. I don't think I'm going to let the solution lie in the hands of the people who caused the problem in the first place. No, I think that I can say it's their fault, but it's our responsibility to fix it. So that brings us to where we're at today. The government wants people to be weak, victim mentality people, mindsets that are willing to export their responsibility to some external force, like back into the hands of the government. Why? So they can come along and just do this to you again. And you don't have any power over your life. You feel defeated. You feel helpless, and you're willing to take any solution that they're going to give you for your problem. So it's kind of like along the lines of you can't export your responsibility to anybody else. If we take full responsibility into the hands of the people, we don't need a government that's bigger and can take more away from us and can do more for it. We can actually push them completely out of our lives. And that's kind of the point where I'm at.
Yeah.
So I've been all over the place in my personal perspectives and beliefs and political beliefs. And now I'm landing on this idea of, you know what? I think these crazy, racist, whiskey drinking sons of bitches were right.
Yeah.
The forefathers were, that's exactly what they were.
Yeah.
Wig wearing.
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
Wig wearing.
Makeup wearing.
Yeah.
But these people were these guys were fucking right.
Yeah.
They were 100% right that, you know what, we don't got to agree on everything, but we all got to be at least committed to our own individual independence. And if we are, you could fucking be any gender of the rainbow. I don't care. But me and you can work together cohesively in society where you are fighting.
Yes.
You're committed to your independence and your people and your causes in a real way, not in a woke keyboard warrior way, but in a real way where we can operate together and have prosperity and opportunity and real freedom. And the government doesn't have any say in it whatsoever. They can go fly a kite. I don't care.
You know, I honestly, one thing I did learn in therapy, which was, it was very hard for me to come to that point where I agreed with it, which was, you know, when something would happen in my life, you know, I would take it as, okay, this is the place that I'm in, whatever. And I would sit there. I would sit there and, you know, no matter how much somebody tried to bring me out of it, I'm here, just leave me alone. Then I realized that there's a huge accountability factor that comes into that, because when situations happen, yes, you might not be in control of the outside influences, but at the end of the day, I'm in control of allowing myself to stay there. It is okay to feel what you're feeling. It's okay to validate what you're feeling. And it's okay to take it all in and take a moment. But that's not a place for you to reside.
Yeah.
It's a place for you to look at it, get a different perspective, and move on.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, where a lot of us get trapped is we fall into that place and we sit there. We sulk.
Here's the problem with that. It comes back to the ego and the identity, right?
Yeah.
Listen, let me ask you something. Are you your thoughts?
Your thoughts are not what is.
Okay. Are you your feelings?
No.
Are you your body? Are you your name?
No.
None of these things can solidify your identity.
Yeah.
But when we get trapped into when we get trapped into thinking that our thoughts are who we are, like we are a collection of thoughts trapped inside of this body of flesh, and that we exist somewhere between the ears and behind the eyes. No, this is just a perspective, and that can change.
Absolutely.
And your feelings change. Your feelings are fleeting. So one of the things I've learned from practicing Zen Buddhism is that when they say, oh, you got to sit there and clear your mind, you can't clear your mind.
Yeah.
You can't clear your, first of all, because I don't even know that mind exists.
That's true.
I feel that, and this is just my opinion, I feel that consciousness is this unified field, and that I don't really have a consciousness. I am consciousness. Everything around us is consciousness. And what I think about as being me or I is thinking or feeling a certain way. What that is me taking my awareness and taking my awareness and focusing on a specific corner or dimension of this this field. So I think of it as we're in this dark room and you can't see what's in the room around you. And all you have is this ball of light in your hands. So I can't know all that is or feel all that is or think all that is at the same time. But whatever is in front of me, if I hold this light of awareness to, I can see and focus on it in that moment. But if I want to change that and go focus on something over here, I don't see that no more, right? This is called ignorance, where you're perceiving something but being ignorant to everything else that's going on. So you got to be really careful what you take your awareness and focus your awareness on. Right? If you don't like what's in this corner over here, there's other corners you can go look at. But when you sit in one spot and look at it and say, this is all that there is, and you're looking at yourself a certain way, you're saying, this is all that I am, you don't get to experience all these other wonderful dimensions of consciousness around you. You got to take that awareness and be willing to go and look somewhere else. So you can't get trapped into the idea that how you feel now or where you're at now or what you think now is actually who you are. That can change.
I agree with that. I feel like society really contributes to that a lot. I mean, because the loss of identity is huge, you know, with the age that we're in now, you know, where everything is so accessible via phone or whatever. It's like the images that they portray to us of what we are supposed to be as individuals, what we are supposed to be as people, how we identify, you know, with one another. I feel like it is so just jaded. And just so
superficial.
Wrong and superficial. And it's like, you know, when it comes down to it, you know, what resonated with you was the fact that the things that you're talking about are the things of truth, the things of the heart, the things that really do matter. When you look at somebody, it doesn't matter what they look like on the outside. I've met some very, very beautiful individuals that to the naked eye, they'd be like, oh, that person isn't that great looking. But aside from their exterior, they just have such a beautiful soul and a beautiful heart. Attractive. And their soul and their heart resonates and it ripples and it causes so many different like effects in other people's lives. You know, just this conversation, honestly, I seriously think you should be a life coach and I want to hire you, you know, truthfully, because
just keep the drinks coming.
Because there's times where even I went through a 2-year therapy program and recovery program. This is where I'm gonna be honest. I went through a therapy program, recovery program, and it was hard. It was hard. And there were so many times where I tried to get in my own way and I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this. It's too much. I don't know if you know anything about, you know, certain types of therapy, but I was an EMDR and I was doing it multiple times a week. A lot of times after my sessions, I would get sick. I would have headaches for days. It was very, very intense. It intensified, you know, me just not wanting to be here anymore. And that was something that I really had to face and really overcome and realize that, you know, that was a place that I was residing in. And it was because I had honestly become comfortable. I had become comfortable with my pain. I had become comfortable with where I was sitting. I had become comfortable with the chaos around me. And it was very hard to leave that because that level of comfortability, I've gotten used to it already. What was very uncomfortable was facing that and doing the EMDR. Now, EMDR is eye movement reconditioning desensitization. So what they do is they expose you to the same traumatic experience over and over again until you no longer have an emotional response to it. And it's very, very tough.
Sounds like military training.
Oh, it's honestly,
sounds like torture.
It felt like that. It felt like that. And my therapist told me flat out, she's like, look, this is not going to be an easy journey. And you have to be committed to that task. And there were so many times where I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, it's just too much. I can't face what's going on. And at the end of it, when I was graduating from my program, you know, I realized just how much I was continuing to surround myself with all of these things. To be honest, the trauma that I went through, yes, it had its part in my life. But who I am as an adult, who I am as an individual, how I treat people, that is all on me solely. What happened in the past may have helped shape me, but it didn't make me who I am. Yeah. What makes me who I am as an individual is how I treat people, the way that people, you know,
you choose,
the way that I uphold myself, truthfully, because, you know, when people look at you, you know, they see a lot of different things. Yeah, they'll see a cute face. They'll see, you know.
Yeah, like sometimes they'll look at me and they'll think that I'm like they'll either think I'm a really good person or they're gonna be like, no, I don't like her. Something about her that I don't like.
No, she's too pretty. She's probably stuck up.
Well, honestly, I'm gonna be real with you. Since we're being real, and I'm like 2 shots in, and then I'm gonna be real with you. When I first met you, I'm very, very selective of the people that I allow to share energy with.
Oh yeah.
Because in all honesty, I have learned to protect myself from other people's negative ass energy. Because what they'll do is they'll push it on you, and then there's a lot of times where I didn't even understand what my feelings were and other people's, and I was just super overwhelmed and super like overstimulated. So when I first met you, I was like, I don't really know this person, but I'm not sure how to feel about this person. So it takes a second for me to kind of, get into it and then realize where I can, where we can have those real conversations, if we can have those real conversations, if you're of like mind, heart, and spirit, because that's the people that I look for. I look for people that really enhance the things that I know to be true, the things that, really bring out the best in me as an individual. So I'm going to be honest and say, I wasn't sure how to feel about you,
no, it's all good.
But, in all truthfulness,
I don't take it personal because
you're super sweet,
like
and to be honest, she's been my hype man quite a few times. I'll show up and I'll be like, I don't know how to feel about the way that I look. And she's like, man, you look good. And I'm like, all right, I got it.
It all goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's like we're all mirrors.
True.
So like what people see, and I get that a lot. Like some people will be like, oh, she's cool. We click right away. Usually when I meet people in person, like they'll click with me.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they really don't, and I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna give them.
That's why I said you're not everybody's cup of tea, but guess what?
And I have such an understanding of everything we've been talking about, so I don't take it personal. Like
I'll tell you right now, like it doesn't matter. You could be the coolest person on earth. Mm-hmm. You're never gonna get 100% of the people to like you.
That's true.
This is actually a statistical.
Oh shit! He's bringing us statistics.
It's actually a statistical fact.
I feel like I gotta buckle in for this one.
So, out of all the people there's going to be a minimum of like 15% of the people who just don't like you, and they can't, and there's no reason for it.
But they fake it.
Some of them. Will.
Some of them will fake it.
Some of them will. Some of them won't. Or maybe they just tolerate you.
Sometimes I just see it as them being polite.
Yeah, I mean, you're just not going to be for everyone. So I'll tell you like this. So my Instagram page is like blowing up, right? I'm probably reaching 36,000 followers, and I get messages all day from people. And most of the time, it's positive.
Hate mail? Oh.
No,
hate mail? I thought it was all
no, most of the time, it's positive, and people are thanking me for what I do, and they love how I talk, and they love my content.
I love it too, by the way.
You honestly have a beautiful energy. I love that. I felt it.
The way this is just one conversation. Like, I've known this guy and followed him for I don't know how many years, and we've always clicked, right?
Right away. We clicked right away.
I just met you, and I'm like,
yeah,
you're my spirit animal. If I could choose a spirit animal, it probably would be this guy. Truthfully,
he just made things really clear.
Right?
all this stuff that he just talks about, like he'll talk to you, and then you'll just get it like so easy, and it's like, damn, like all this stuff is so complicated, but this guy made it like so easy, where it's like 2 + 2 is 4, and you know what I mean, and you're trying to figure out a whole algebra equation. And it's 2 + 2 is 4.
Can I say something really crazy and outlandish right now? Like, I don't know what it is about me, but as a person, I'm like attracted to people's minds.
We were just
talking about sexual.
Seriously, like when people can really connect with me on that intellectual level, and I can have that real conversation with you, I'm like, yo, like this is my people.
That's that's like the only thing I'm attracted to.
And I don't know what it is. Like,
I think me too, because someone can be really ugly, but I'm gonna be like, hey, you're kind of cute.
Low key, when I met Bo. So I tell people all the time, I'm like, he creeped on me. Literally, he creeps on me. But when he like spoke, I don't know what it was, but I was like, this man has a beautiful fucking mind. Like, I don't know what it was, but I was like, and when I was younger,
it's a passion for curiosity. You can't replace that. Like there's so many
No.
people that go through life like in fucking cruise control.
Yeah.
That to me, like I can't do that.
See-
I don't even like being around people
Yeah.
like that.
My thing is, you know, I love to stir the pot. I really do. Why? Because when you stir the pot, you find the real shit that's at the bottom.
You know what I always say? Sometimes you got to stir the pot, or else the scum starts to rest at the top.
Exactly. It's like oil and water. The oil will rise it to the top. And it's like, you know, for me, I love stirring the shit and seeing what happens. And the real versions of people come out in those situations.
Yep.
You know, so I love having conversations. I love meeting people that just have that like sound mind and sound heart. And I'm like, look, I know if I were in a weird place and I were to like message you and be like, look, I'm having a hard time, you would give me that real advice. You wouldn't give me that bullshit advice that people give you. They're like, oh, it's going to be okay. And I'm like, no, I need to know that it's not going to be okay. And I need to get my ass up and do some shit about it.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a real friend. A real friend right there will be
when
like,
people
yo,
say
get the
stuff-
fuck up and let's do this shit.
I'll tell if I say something that sounds cliche, I got to address the fact that it sounds cliche for it. Like I know this sounds cliche,
I do that.
but this is why things will get. But this is why I'm about to say it. Like I will expound on it. Like let me take you through I like doing thought experimentation.
Okay.
Right? I think it's important to do thought experimentation sometimes. So
I'm a little lost on what you mean by that, but
I'll
I'm
explain-
down.
I'll
I'm down to
explain
learn.
to you.
Okay.
So I am what some people would consider a Sigma male personality type, right?
Okay.
So you've heard of alphas and betas. Those are like the two top tier, right?
Okay.
You got the alphas who are always trying to be in charge, and you got the betas who are more introverted and they just kind of follow the alphas.
Yeah.
Then you got the Sigma, who's this guy who's kind of outside the hierarchy and is constantly like in his own. He's like an introverted alpha. So like I can do whatever I want.
So you're like a perfect mixture of the both, right?
I mean, well, no, not necessarily. A beta can follow only because he's not a leader.
Okay.
A Sigma can be a leader. But if I have to follow or play part of the group just to play nice with everyone to get
You're
along,
able to do
if
so.
it's something that benefits me, if we get what I want out of it, I'll do it.
Mhm.
But so there's a lot of different characteristics about a Sigma male personality type that separate them from this hierarchy of alphas and betas. But one of the key personality traits of a Sigma is that they tend to often do thought experimentation or play things out in their mind a lot before they go and do it. So you might see some dude walking down the street and like talking to himself, like either one, he's crazy, or he's practicing everything he's gonna do and say before he goes and does. Like he's thinking about a situation that might not even have come up yet. Like I do it all the time, and I'll be sitting here and be like,
I play worst case
I just
scenario.
learned something new right now. I think I'm.
Do you ever do that? I like low key play worst case scenario where I'm like, what's the worst thing that can happen? And I like play through it, and I'm like, okay,
thought experimentation.
yeah. Then I go back and I'm like,
there's Sigma female types too.
I used to be like that, but now I don't know how to really explain it. I kind of just go through my head like, okay, so many things can happen, and I just prepare myself like as best as I can.
Do you practice what you're going to say in a specific situation in case it comes up?
Sometimes
That's
I kind of
a
already
Sigma
know.
trait.
I don't know. You
That's a
seem
Sigma
like a
trait.
really vocal motherfucker that like somebody would
Honestly,
like you would pop off in like 2 seconds, but then after that, because see, I'm the same way. But like after that, you'd be like, yo, like let me holler at you.
I never come off. I mean, every time I come off, it's never like gonna be on some anger or some. Back then, yeah, but now like I've changed. Like everything we've talked about, like is stuff that I've actually lived. Like, and now I'm just like, okay, I am kind of like the observer. I see everything. I see the bigger picture, and I'm like, okay, let me come in and give you some real shit. Like I'm giving you my perspective. Because usually I'll see someone and I'll be like, okay, I see their perspective. Let me try to give them my perspective so they can get like a bigger picture of it.
Yeah.
And sometimes they get offended and they shut me out. But, you know, and that's them. And I respect it. I'm like, cool, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that.
No, that's
but
one of the
usually
things
they
about...
come back and be like, hey, you know what? Thanks. Like, I actually thought about what you said. And, you know, and
a lot of times when somebody like, you know, opens up that platform for us to really be self-reflective, it can be quite intimidating, and it can be like, look, like this person's just trying to single me out, and
they're picking on me.
Yeah, and we go into that like defensive mode.
Yeah.
And you know, even I've been there.
Yeah.
You know, when I was younger, I was definitely a hit first, ask questions later type of person, which, you know, in all honesty, you know, having kids, I didn't want to be that individual. Now I like to observe things. I like to get to know people on that real
Like you
level.
gotta study them and be like, okay.
And I try not to give unsolicited advice, truthfully.
But I do.
But if I find a position where you definitely, I can see you're struggling and you can definitely use that word of encouragement, I will help out.
Yeah.
You know, or if somebody comes to me, which I don't know why people like to just spill their guts to me, and it kind of makes me feel awkward because I'm like, I don't know what to do with this information.
You should see my Instagram DMs.
Right? But I still try to be the type of person that I needed when I was going through things.
Yeah.
You know, I remember that. And one of the things that my therapist was teaching me in therapy, when you were talking about, you know, how you're in the darkness and you're focusing on one specific thing, that was part of my therapy. She was explaining to me that, you know, we all get stuck in one place in our life.
Yeah.
And a lot of times what happens is we just try to like sweep that under the rug and keep going, not realizing that, you know, for me, where I got stuck was when I was a child. And so that inner child has manifested itself throughout my life. And it's like that child's in a closet and is like banging on the door, like, let me out, validate me so that we can move on.
That's important.
And I was hiding from it because, in all truthfulness, you know, when you have that ego up, you are very cowardice. Yeah. I will say that 100%. You are very, very cowardice.
You're a little bitch.
And my therapist used to tell me, she's like, look, you need to confront your younger self.
Yeah.
You need to validate your younger self. And you need to have that conversation with your younger self so that you can move forward in a positive way and you don't have that holding you back. And so when I confronted my younger self, it was rough, you know, because she would tell me, she's like, you know, the things that you tell yourself, you know, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not beautiful, or whatever the situation is. She's like, would you tell that to, I have a 10-year-old son and an 8.5-month-old daughter. She's like, would you look at your kids and tell them that? And I'm like, no, why? Why would I tell my kids that? And she's like, well, why is it okay for you to continue to tell yourself that?
Yeah.
And continue to keep pushing back that child that went through that trauma and just like locking them away instead of facing that and helping yourself being the person that you needed in those moments to other people. And so, you know, throughout my life, I've really tried to be the person that I needed. When I see somebody in some type of way, I'm like, look, I'm not going to try to steer you in any direction, but I'm here if you need me.
Yeah.
And, you know, that really, really resonated to me. And so, you know, this entire time that I've been listening, I was totally multitasking, but I was listening. And I was just like, this dude, honestly, you should be a life coach. Charge for that shit. Please. Hi.
Hey.
Okay, look. Hold on.
You need to do a spin.
Look at how beautiful this bitch is. All right. Queen, this is Queen Daniela. Queen Daniela, we got there's 3 of us girls right now. They started
Did
as
you
a
just
team.
assume my gender?
No,
I'm talking about
1, 2,
us 3. Don't even gender specific that shit with
good,
me.
Mom. I'm good. Yeah, thank you.
There is.
Did you want one of these or?
It started out as 2.
Don't tempt me, dude.
Do you want to take this?
I don't know. That was really good what you was saying.
He likes.
I think I'll take one. I'll take a little girly
No,
drink.
I'm still drinking. Thank you.
I got you. I'll be right back. And a shot.
Yes, please. Of the Crown Apple.
Okay.
It started out as 2 queens up in BARTALK TV, and you know, then ended up with 3. We're the triple threat. Y'all gotta be careful.
Yeah. Just kidding.
Y'all gotta be careful, especially if you see us all out together, because I feel like, you know, when that happens, we're gonna be tearing shit up in Tucson. So yeah, I really appreciate you, and I love just the conversation and just you sharing your time with us, honestly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've been wanting to do this, and
sharing your knowledge, and I can guarantee I'll probably be one individual slipping into your DMs, not for anything crazy, but you know, just for that.
We all professionals here.
Yeah, absolutely. And my future husband is part of the show too. So, but just sometimes when you need that added encouragement, I think when you reach out to the people that you know have that foundation, that strong foundation, it definitely helps you get through the things that you're going through, because, you know, even now, sometimes after it's been like a year and a half since therapy, even now I find myself like feeling like I want to be stuck in this place and just reside here for a minute, and then I'll have somebody like you that will say some real shit that I'm like, yo, what the fuck are you
It'll
doing?
remind you, you know.
Yeah, it's like, what are you
mindset,
doing? Like,
yeah,
get up
it's a
and
mindset
actually
shit.
like confront that. Stop running from it. Be fearless. Be
There you
fearless.
go.
And my mother always told me to be fearless, and I was just kind of like,
Like how?
Yeah, I'll tell you right
Like
now.
I am.
I'm like, I'll
fearless.
bust shit up if I want to. That's fearless. And
I'll
she's
tell
like,
you right
no.
now, the biggest thing, like I work doing social media marketing and stuff like that. And in the place I've been working at lately, they had somebody that was managing social media for one of the pages for a product we have, the coffee, a coffee that we sell. And I was like, this is such a cool product. And you guys got, you know, they're making like 50 grand in sales a month. Like they got an audience, they got people who love the coffee. It's a great product. But I'm just like, their social media was not on par. So I finally met the girl doing the social media for the Instagram page. I was like, you guys can be making so much more money if you kind of change some things. But when I met her, I found out what the problem was. This girl was like real timid. She wasn't sure what to, she was constantly calling the owner, like, is this okay? And what if we didn't, is this okay? And it was just unoriginal content. She was so scared of what people were going to think. I said, you know, I want to talk. I told the owner of the company, I said, let me talk to this girl. Just let me talk to her. She came from California and she was here for like a week. Okay. And I got her alone for like 45 minutes. Okay. And I sat down and I talked to her and I was like, listen, you want to understand what's going to make you successful in your content online? I said, you got to realize one thing. You can't give a shit what anyone thinks.
Yeah, be real. Be 100% real.
Yep.
Now, look, the reason that this works is because so many of us are walking around with these masks.
Yes.
That when you see someone who operates in every aspect of their life with pure sincerity, it makes you feel good. You look at them, you're like, I wish I could be that.
Yes.
Subconsciously, you know, you might think you're the realest motherfucker on the planet.
Yeah, no.
But subconsciously, you know you were. You cannot trick your subconscious.
That's true.
I'll tell you this, your subconscious is a horrible master. It's a great servant. If you get the mind to serve you, it's a great servant. But if you just let it run you, it's a horrible master. Yeah. And you cannot lie to it. You cannot show up late to it. It's a bad boss. You can't show up late to work. He knows. So I'll give you an example of what I mean. So the subconscious is always watching what you do. Mm-hmm. So if you were to, let's say I'll just try to use a specific scenario. Let's say you're somebody who wants to, let's say you're a dude and you feel not confident and you want to try to approach women, but every time you go to do it, you just you bomb it, you fail. Oh, this girls just don't like me, whatever.
Get anxiety.
Get anxiety, social anxiety, right? And it happens over and over and over. So every time you want to go and try to get over that and say, you know, I'm really going to learn, I'm going to learn how to talk to girls. And the subconscious is literally going to be right there saying, no, you won't.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
No, you won't. Pussy. No, hold on. Wait a minute, pussy.
Yeah, right?
But no, the subconscious is there to be like, hold on, wait a second. I have seen you try and fail 1,000 times. You do this every week, dude.
Yes.
Who do you think you are?
Who are you kidding yourself?
Yeah, listen, you can bullshit other people. You're not going to lie to me. I've been watching you. Yeah. That's how your subconscious works. So you literally have to start operating from the idea.
Tell it to shut the
up. You literally, you gotta treat it like a bully that it is. And be like, you know what? No, I'm going to do this. I don't care what you say. I'm going to get this done. I'm going to try this.
I talk to myself like that in my head. I'd be like, oh,
yeah.
Stop. Do it.
You have
that's what funny? You gotta do. Is I do that whole thing where I'm like, who the fuck you thinking with? I'm the fucking boss.
I'm the fucking boss.
Yeah, I swear to God, I do it all the fucking time.
Rick Ross
to remind myself that I am really, I feel like we a lot of times don't realize how much in control we really are.
Yeah. Well, here's what it comes down to. At this point I want to make, not to cut you off, but
no, you're fine.
So when you let the subconscious run you, right? When your mind runs you, you're a slave.
Oh yeah.
Right. So people become a slave to their thoughts, to their fears, to things that are not even real. It's not even real. So here's the other problem. When you're out in society, it gets even worse because now you're not just thinking about what your subconscious is telling you about yourself, You're thinking about what your subconscious is telling you about what other people might be thinking about you. So now you're chasing the ghost of a ghost, right?
Yes. Oh my
Here's
God.
the problem.
Oh
with
my
that.
God, I've been there.
I heard a monk once say this, a Buddhist monk. He said, "Listen, I'm not who you think I am, and I'm not who I think I am, but I am whoever I think you think I am."
That's true. I will agree with that. You know what's funny is I just had a conversation with
Wait.
somebody.
I just confused the
I had a
yell.
conversation today with somebody about that same specific thing. I'm like, you know, the way that we see ourselves is the way that other people see ourselves.
Yeah.
Reason being, if I see myself as unworthy, not respectable, not beautiful, people view me as that. Why? Because
They'll pick it up.
that's what I project.
Yeah.
I project that I am just this person, and that's what they see, and they feed off of that.
I can't tell you how many times just acting
I don't know
confident,
about that.
like I'm supposed to be there, has worked out for me.
Truthfully, so everybody tells me, you know, because being, you know, in the bar scene for a long time, people are like, yo, you are hella confident. And I'm like, truthfully, I get paid to be this
You're
person.
like, I'm not.
In my personal life, I am not this cool.
You're like,
swear
I
to God.
have anxiety right now.
Yeah, and I do. And I would have anxiety, and I'm like, look, I'm not this cool in real life. Like, I'm very
Yeah, see,
reserved.
that's another thing too. I don't think like when I'm out there, people are like, I don't know how you have this much confidence. I don't know how you're so
And see,
brave.
that's
And
what
I'm
I
not-
need. I need like confidence to be on camera, and like right now it's cool.
Positive
because, like, we're all
affirmations.
here.
But I'm serious. Positive affirmations go a long way.
The
You know,
conversation you have with yourself
Yes.
is important. Don't make it a negative one.
I
You're
know,
gonna
I
listen.
try.
You're gonna experience so many negative conversations from the world out there.
Yes.
Don't let the
I
conversation
know
in your
the
head be a
thing is
negative
that
one.
I'm my hardest critic. So right now I'm in the process of like, you know what, fuck what those people say, because I'm my worst enemy. Like nobody can top the shit that I tell
Yeah.
myself.
do you know what my
I'm my
therapist
only
told me to do?
competition.
She said, sweetheart, find one thing that you love about yourself. Truthfully, think about it. Take time, reflect, find one thing that you love about yourself. Every single day.
I love my eyebrows.
It could be anything. It could be this fool over here. It could be anything,
The
truthfully.
drinks are kicking in.
It could
I
be
know.
like I love how much I care for people.
Yeah.
I love how much love I have for
I
other
love that
individuals.
I'm a
gotta see my
freaking
eyebrows.
boss ass
And
bitch.
you know what's funny is that I have done that every single day since. I find something, and every single day it changes, and it's so
Mhm.
beautiful because now I have a long list of the things that I love about
It's because
me.
you gotta focus on the good.
I love my heart. I love my mind. I love my values. I love, you know, my family. I love the way that I uphold myself. I love the fact that I am teachable. I love the fact that I'm not set in my ways. And I remind myself of that every single day. When I'm getting ready for work, I will be looking in the mirror and I'm like,
Oh shit.
she's over here distracting us again.
That's all right.
Don't
She's a
understand.
good distraction.
Nice to see you.
Daniela.
You guys are doing a great job.
Oh, you got a
Can I take
little
this out of the way?
umbrella.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
this one.
please.
Got the little umbrella in there and everything.
I
Look
know,
at that.
she's
I
doing
feel-
it all of. How about I
I'm
didn't
in
get an umbrella for my shot? I feel a little fucking left out.
You guys do need some coasters. I'll be
Yes, absolutely. You know, so like every day when I'm getting ready, that's the one time that I actually am like in the mirror and I have time to myself. And
I like the little umbrella.
Yeah.
It's just
see, we got it.
without the umbrella.
She's
it
an
just wouldn't-
official bartender.
That's what I'm saying. With the little umbrella, I feel like I'm like on a beach somewhere, like at a resort.
Daniela, how many
Yes, absolutely.
certifications for bartender do you
Thank
have?
you, babe.
Right now, one just went down, so I have 7 right now. 7.
Yeah, only 7.
We have an official, only 7. We have an official bartender, guys. She's
Okay, we
fucking
have, like,
amazing.
7.
Beautiful and absolutely amazing.
Why I plug my USB drive into my laptop with one try.
Oh, wow.
So
I mean,
I got
made
that
it
going
with
for
one
me.
try. I did it.
I like how he just comes out of left field and we're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Do we need anything else?
No, thank you, Queen. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
So just getting back real quick, I try to take that time that I have to myself every day when I'm getting ready to just look myself in the mirror and be like, you're beautiful.
Are you a bad
You're
bitch.
worthy.
I
You're
like that. I
definitely
like the Rick
worthy.
Ross thing. Do it again.
Who the fuck you think you fucking with? I'm the fucking boss. And I do that to my kids all the time. They try to act crazy. I'm like, who the fuck you think you fucking
I'm
with?
gonna do
I'm
that
the
next
fucking
time my daughter's
boss.
like, I don't wanna. I'm gonna be like, who the fuck you think you fucking with? I'm the fucking boss.
Yes, I do it to my kids. Truthfully,
Like you gotta. Point is, you gotta approach life with the same confidence as like an Indian guy on Messenger trying to hit on a girl.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like if you live the part, you dress the part, and you act the part, that really goes a long way. If you think you a bad bitch and you act that part, let me point something out.
The drinks are kicking in now. I'm trying
It manifests itself.
Yeah.
And when I'm gonna tell you bad bitches, that's a title. Everybody's like, I'm a bad bitch. I'm gonna tell you what a bad bitch really is. A bad bitch is a woman that knows her own. A bad bitch is another woman that can literally build up other women instead of breaking people down. I don't know what that whole thing is about. I don't get it.
Yeah, and also, you're on your shit.
Yes.
Like, how do you not?
You're real
not
with
just
yourself.
Looks, not it doesn't.
No,
go,
you're real with yourself. You're
it
real
goes
with other
way
people.
beyond that. Like, you
Hell.
handle your shit.
I really like you. I really like you a lot. And he says the alcohol talking, but I really like you. You're awesome.
No,
I think it's kicking in for all of us.
That's
now.
why
Nah.
I wanted him on the show, because honestly, I'm like, dude, I gotta get this guy on the show. Like,
she's like, I gotta tear shit up for a second and just be
he was
real.
supposed to be here like a while back, but I'm glad. I think it all is divine
everything
time.
in its divine timing.
Hey,
Yes, girl, I love it.
Did Omar and Jacob tell you what I took them to go do?
No. Okay,
No?
what did we miss?
Oh,
I
you
gotta
guys
hear
don't know
this.
about
Okay.
this? I took them shooting a few weeks back.
Oh my God, yes. I know they had videos, but I didn't know that was you.
Yeah, huh? No. So yeah, it was the day of my birthday party.
I was supposed to go home.
Yeah, it was the day of my birthday party. So that morning, I got invited by some congressional and attorney general candidates. Had invited me two congressional candidates that I know. I mentioned one of them earlier, my buddy Luis. They invited me to an event at it was a CIA training facility.
Oh wow!
And we got to go there and actually shoot fully automatic weapons. It was awesome. So I got to shoot for the first time. I've shot a lot of weapons before, but I've never shot a light infantry machine gun. So they had an M249 there, which is a light infantry machine gun. It's belt fed, and it's fully automatic. And they gave you a little bit of free ammo to try it, and then you could purchase ammo. Like you could purchase a whole magazine and sit there and just. It was so freaking awesome, dude. But yeah, it was funny because these kind of events, I get invited to these type of events all the time. Like I know all these people in politics, like really connected, right? And so I go there, but I'm from these streets, you know what I'm saying? Like, I deal with. I talk to everybody.
I'm gonna turn this way because I low key love him, but I hate him right now because I'm like,
I hate you. Don't
no,
talk to me.
seriously. How come I think we were invited to that shit?
It'll happen again sometime.
What?
Yeah, it'll happen again. Trust me. But when I get invited to these events, yeah, I'll let you guys know because it's. So this one in particular, though, I really enjoyed because they had a G18, a Glock, fully automatic. They had a AR-15, fully automatic. They had, I believe, they had a silenced MP5, fully automatic. It had a suppressor on it.
Yeah.
And they had an AK family carbine, which was my favorite.
Oh my God.
Not built for accuracy, by the way. That thing is that is a spray and pray piece of equipment there.
But then, like you let it go and you go on prayers. Hopefully that's where you need it to.
Some kid there, he just said, he like flew back and they had to get behind him and brace him. Like, I actually got some kick to it. But then the larger one, the light infantry machine gun that was belt fed, that was fully automatic, the M249, no kick at all to it.
Wow.
No recoil. It was just, it was so sweet. But yeah, it was awesome. I went out there and we had a great time, and I introduced them to some of the people running for Congress out here. Actually, you guys are in Congressional District 4, so they got to meet and shoot guns with the guy running for Congress from this district. So it was awesome.
I love guns. They excite me. They really do. I think, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I grew up,
to bear arms, baby.
Military family, whatnot.
Second Amendment.
I love guns. I love going shooting. I love doing the outdoorsy shit, mud bogging, four-wheeling, whatever you can throw at me hiking.
You like to get down and dirty.
I do. I love it. And
You
when
wanna know
it
something crazy about
when
me?
it comes to guns, the sound of them, especially like machine guns and shit.
Oh
I'm like,
yeah.
Little
Yeah,
boulder.
they made us wear protective gear. I normally don't do that if I go shooting. They say it's bad,
yeah.
but I straight up, if I'm gonna use a gun, it's not gonna be in a moment that I'm gonna have time to go run and grab glasses and earplugs. And so when I go shooting, I want that realistic combat experience. So I will purposely fire weapons without earplugs in, because if you're not used to that,
Yeah.
it's very intimidating.
It
Bless
is. Yeah, I'm gonna actually ask you a really like left field question.
Let me get another drink.
Since we're talking about guns, you know, I know that our country has been rocked by a major event, and for me, you know, as a mother of a 10-year-old, that's something that has been on my mind for days now. You know, that mass shooting that we had, and I just kind of want to know your thoughts and your take on that. You know, how you view it and how you feel about it.
I view it as pure evil. I view it as pure evil. And the thing is that we don't have an issue with gun control in this country. We have an issue with mental illness. When they're allowing mental illness to go unchecked. Listen, there used to be, I know, and this is very controversial, but I'm just gonna say, there was a time.
Oh, sorry. I'm like controversial.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was a time in this country when people who had severe mental illness were locked up in asylums and facilities. And I don't condone a lot of things that happen in those facilities. But what I'm saying is that we got rid of all of them and replaced them with nothing.
I feel like we made it a norm. If you know.
Yeah. Well, here's like what I was about to say. So we got
it.
rid of the asylums, the mental facilities. We replaced them with nothing. And now you see the outpour of these kind of people out in the streets. When you're running into people every day on the streets, we're just like, damn, like, yeah, maybe this person shouldn't have a gun.
Yeah.
But I have another. Okay, so it's complicated.
Yeah.
So I've heard people say that maybe we should do mental, health checks for people with guns.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah,
either.
but here's my reason behind that is the slippery slope. When you got something like this that is being completely politicized, what if someone comes along at some point, and this could very well happen. I mean, this has happened in this country. If someone comes along and says someone doesn't like your political views or religious views or something to that effect, or your views on whatever. I mean, there's people out there that think you're absolutely crazy if you don't get vaccinated. Yep. There's people out there think you're absolutely crazy if you believe in God.
Yeah.
And what if somebody were to come along and again they take over the government and all of a sudden they're saying, okay, everyone who believes in God is mentally ill. So then what? They have some kind of righteous indignation towards my beliefs, and they're going to turn that into a policy. And now I'm not allowed to own guns because they think I'm a threat because I don't believe like they do. So here's the problem. It's hard to determine if we don't have a standard in our practice of psychology, and we don't anymore, which is scary. The whole thing with the gender identity, and I'm not going to pick on anyone. I don't mean to be offensive. This is just the truth.
Yeah.
But there used to be a classification for people who didn't know what gender they were.
Yeah.
And it was called gender dysmorphia. And if you had gender identity dysmorphia, it was considered a mental illness. But a couple of years ago, very recently, about I want to say 4 years ago.
Yeah.
They took gender identity dysmorphia as a mental illness out of the psychological textbooks. You know what they did add to that though? Kids who play video games. Kids who play video games are mentally ill now, according to the American Psychological Association. But a man who thinks he's a woman is not.
Wow.
So if we don't have any kind of psychological standard, then I don't trust the government or the state to come in and say, well, we're going to determine who can and can't own a gun for self-protection or any reason based on these psychological standards that we can't even fucking keep intact. You know, our institutions have failed us.
Yes.
And the institution of our public schools is a biggest failure, because what happened at that school in Uvalde, Texas, is nothing short of, look, I'm just going to say it. If Biden's had young kids and they went to school there, that shit would not have fucking happened. Straight up.
Yep.
We got our government facilities, sporting events, fucking concerts, rappers, every degenerate person out there.
The dispensaries.
They're all protected with security and people with what? Guns.
Absolutely.
So you're going to tell me that it's crazy to think that we should have that same measure of security for our children, the most precious.
They're our future.
They're the most
Yep.
precious thing on this
Yeah.
earth. Listen, I'll do anything to protect my daughter. She's never going to fucking know what the inside of a public school looks like. That's what I'm saying. She'll know how to use a gun.
Yeah.
And she'll know to respect it. I'm not going to make it taboo so that I have it hidden from her in secret so that it's cool to go pull it out when I'm not there with her friends and someone accidentally gets shot. This is a cultural issue.
Yeah.
This is a societal issue. It has nothing to do with gun control. And you got so many people politicizing this shit so that they can come and try to do a power grab. You know, I'm not interested in hearing these people with these crocodile tears for these kids, because you know what, little kids get shot every fucking weekend in Chicago by stray bullets.
nobody
And they
talks
don't
about
all
it.
year long. They're gonna
Yeah.
ignore them. Why? Because this mass shooting is something they can politicize. I don't buy people's bullshit, and it's a horrible tragedy what happened
There's
to them.
kids getting
It
sex
is.
trafficked.
There's
as we
kids,
speak.
Yeah.
Right now across the border,
And it's
30
been
minutes
happening for
30 minutes in the direction of my back
years.
facing.
Yeah.
And my daughter lives here in this community where this is going on, and nobody wants to do anything about the fucking open border.
Absolutely.
I don't believe these politicians. I don't believe these activists. I don't believe these woke personalities or these celebrities, these people on Twitter. I don't believe any of them give a shit about kids, because if they did, they would not jump to the conclusion that we have to somehow take away law-abiding citizens' rights to self-defense, when we had, what are you going to do? You're going to export that responsibility to who? The police?
Yeah.
You can go watch the videos from Uvalde, Texas. The police held the parents back for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
While this guy was just shooting. They were hearing gunshots and children screaming inside the school for 40 fucking minutes.
Yeah.
And you know, some of those police officers had kids in that school, their own kids. You know what?
Yeah.
They were allowed to go in there and get their kids. But that guy, some off-duty Border Patrol agent, had to run in there and shoot him. I don't buy this bullshit.
Yeah.
And if I'll say it right now, if we got rid of all the police departments nationwide and we had conscripted every single able-bodied male above the age of 16 to the state militia like the Constitution dictates, that guy would never made it to the school.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's how I feel about it.
So I really appreciate you being here with us today and just, sharing your views. I agree with a lot of different things. I feel like, I just had this conversation with somebody, about how we have really normalized mental illness. And instead of providing help for these individuals, we are forcing, the population, we're forcing the population to accept them as they are instead of giving them the help that they deserve.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you having that conversation with us. Do you have any last words for the viewers, that you would like to share before
follow
we
him?
end this?
Make sure y'all follow him.
Yeah, where can we
absolutely.
find you, by the way?
If you guys want to follow me online, you can just look me up, my name, which is on the screen down there, on Facebook.
Okay.
I have 2 accounts on Facebook because I was used to getting banned, so I'd switch from one to the other. My 30-day ban. So
one is backwards.
Yeah, one is my name backwards, which is OGR Flegna, right? Because it's movie, and then one is my name forward with this Angel Fraijo. So that's Facebook. If you want to find me on any other platform, Gold Pill Patriot.
Gold Pill Patriot.
Okay.
Instagram, YouTube, and I just joined Twitter because of an upcoming business opportunity in the Web 3.0 space, even though I don't like Twitter because it is the world's longest burning dumpster fire on the internet. But you can find me there if you like.
All right, guys.
Definitely, for sure.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate you. Like, share, 10 shares, 10 groups. Replay. Absolutely.
Take some notes, because this shit is like real shit. Like,
yeah, we're having those real talks. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of BARTALK TV. Thank you so much for coming out.
This drink is too good. I might have
Appreciate you
another
guys.
Thank you.
If you'd like to be on our next episode, just inbox us for details. Thanks for tuning in.